Oh, we be live. Well, actually, we're not live on Twitch. Twitch
What's
doesn't like our
wrong?
title. What's wrong with our title? I don't. Okay, I'm just
It's
gonna
because of the
change the
second
title.
news story.
Really? Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just gonna change the
Is
title to
Twitch
AR.
buying into China's censorship? Okay.
Oh, is that it?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let me just fix it. Okay, good. We're live on everywhere, including Twitch now. So we're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch. I changed the title on Twitch because Twitch was not letting us go live with the previous. What's wrong with our title? I don't get it. Like, okay, read the
It's
whole
the G
title of this.
word.
The G
The big
word.
G. The genocide word.
Well, okay? Don't say it then. All right, Twitch. Twitch, be sensitive. All right, guys. Hi, everyone. We're going to be covering the news. Oh, thank you, Secularity, confirming that the audio is good. Like, woo! Look at it. News time, baby. News time, bitches.
Love the excitement.
Guys, this is the kind of energy we want every time we go live here, okay? We don't even need to explain to people who are new what we're going to do because we get comments like this. We'll just, no more explanation about what this is about. We just highlight secularity and these comments, and then everybody should understand what we're about to do.
That's what we're here
Great
for.
idea.
Guys,
Music,
if
guys.
you
Yeah, go ahead.
like what we do here at Atheist Republic, please make sure to like this video. It helps us a lot. It's a little way that you can support us for free, and it only takes you less than a second. And if you really like what we do, you can consider financially supporting us on Patreon, where you get access to our sexiest blasphemous art, uncensored, exclusive illustrated comics of religious scriptures, and priority during our Q&As. You get the special treatment, and you can get that all for as little as $1 a month. So think about supporting us. Link for our Patreon is in the description.
Let's move on to the news because we could do the promo stuff at the end. Okay. All right. But yeah, do like the video. It doesn't cost you anything. It costs you only half a second and it helps our channel. So do it now. Anyways, can we clap for the first news?
Yes, because our standard for clapping is not death or severe bodily harm.
Yes, actually, that's a very good point. Okay, sometimes we clap and people are like, "Why are you clapping? This is bad news." We don't. The only times like it has to be really bad news for us not to clap. Like somebody should be. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. If somebody is tortured, somebody is killed, there's somebody minors are being abused. Then we don't clap. But if it's just like your general average bad news, then we clap. Okay, so first news.
Pastor calls to turn small town into Christian theocracy. The Guardian recently published an article detailing their lengthy investigation into an ultra-conservative evangelical church in Moscow, Idaho. So when we refer to Moscow in the story, we're talking about a town in Idaho. We're not talking about Russia. Okay, just to be clear. According to the report, the church's leadership has openly announced their desire to run a theocracy. Douglas Wilson, the controversial lead pastor of Christ Church is the name of the church, not the place in New Zealand, intends to, quote, make Moscow a Christian town through faithful and robust covenant renewal. The Guardian report claims that the church gains power by criticizing public officials over public health mandates, accumulating land and businesses, and building institutions in parallel to the local secular government. Despite Christchurch activities being limited to Moscow, Idaho, its umbrella organization is slowly seeping its way into mainstream politics. Wilson also drops dangerous messages in his blogs and online ministries, often comparing lawful public health ordinances to enslavement and saying, quote, "We are not yet in hot civil war. We are with shooting and all, but we are in a Cold War civil war." End quote.
This is why, even though I'm a full-on libertarian, I completely support very robust, very efficient government social safety nets, right? Nothing this guy is doing is illegal. He should be able to provide services, right, under religious branding. But what I want is for it to be unsuccessful because there's something so much better being provided by the government. This is why, like, when it comes to religions trying to monopolize charity and support, like what kind of services this guy provides? Like, what is he doing? What are the list of
Well,
the things?
he leads a church and he publishes books,
Yeah.
but
No, but
he has
yeah.
all of these deep connections into the local church ministry, as also as well as the largest private employer in the city, in the town of 25,000
Okay,
people.
but how is he starting a what they call here a Christian theocracy? Like, how is he going to do that? Like, is he going to provide services that the government provides? I mean, he can't have his own police. That would be illegal. So he
No.
can't.
The investigation doesn't exactly this is one thing that I wish they had clarified, is what they mean by trying to set up alternatives to the secular institutions, because they mainly talk
Secular.
about his close relationships with the leaders of the company, the town's largest private employer, as well as the influence he has over a local Bible college that's in the area.
Oh, there you go. Education at college. Okay. Well, I mean, to be fair, like, he should be allowed to do that. This is not a theocracy. The problem we have with theocracies is that they don't let other ideas compete. Okay.
Yes.
This guy is competing with secular institutions in a free society, and the fact that he gets to compete makes us not a theocracy. Like, so this is not at all even remotely close to a theocracy.
Well,
But the issue we have, being, secular institutions not being able to compete with religious ones, that's the first sign that you're in a theocracy, right? If we want to defeat this guy's Christian's institution, we have to have better secular ones, instead of like trying to shut this guy down. You know what I mean? That's how we compete with this guy's ideas.
yes, I'm not trying to claim that he currently has a theocracy. That this is something he openly calls for and pushes for and argues for. So, and then
he says the word, he uses the word theocracy.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay,
in their
never
church
mind.
materials, which are found openly. So here's one example. Wilson has repeatedly disavowed any interest in national electoral politics, but Christ Church's eventual aim is that Wilson explicitly describes explicitly describes in 2016 in a 2016 book as theocracy, or, quote, a network of nations bound together by a formal acknowledgement of the lordship of Jesus Christ. End
Well, he's
quote,
delusional.
as opposed to secular society run by, quote, civil governments which are in necessary degrees satanic, demonic, and influenced by the god of this world, who is the devil.
Hell yeah. And we're winning.
These beliefs have led Christ Church into conflicts with local government, but additionally, Wilson and other Christ Church members have found a range of local and national institutions which are affiliated with or sponsored by the church. And so then it details how the church itself is an unincorporated nonprofit, so they don't have to have their finances as openly accountable. And then the entities associated with the church are also unincorporated, like they have a school and they have a publisher. And their anonymous sources are saying that the members have to tithe 10% of their household income, but wealthier members are expected to make even more. But that's not even, so he has expressed an open desire for theocracy, right? But that's not necessarily how he's exerting his power now. So he, like I said, he has a lot of influence in his local church. And then there's also his son-in-laws who have married into his family also have very senior positions within the church and other influential aspects of this town.
Okay. But he's not going to be able to go on.
The main way that he's able to throw his power around and have outsized influence in this town, where apparently only like 10% of the people in the town are actually members of his church. That's still a pretty large amount.
This is the theocracy.
No, it's not. But he has been able to politicize what I am referring to as public health ordinances. But when I say that, I want people to think of restrictions related to the sickness that is going around. And I can't say much more because of the YouTube is very strict about talking about these kinds of things. Like some of the stuff that he advocates for, I can't even talk about on YouTube because they will think that we're promoting it. Like really, really dangerous policies or actions that are directly influenced by his faith, and he says so. And he has been encouraging opposition to people in the local town who support that kind of thing, push for that kind of thing. And just like all these campaigns to push back what he characterizes as enslavement.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I got all of that. I just want to mention that this guy is delusional. He's not going to be able to have his theocracy. Anything that he can do, anything he wants to do that will remotely get him closer to be a theocracy would be illegal. This guy will not be able to raise an army. He's not going to be able to have his police. Anything he says that is dangerous, like you said, should be considered like a health hazard and should be, addressed accordingly. And the only thing he get to do with all his connections and money is to create private institutions that are competing with secular ones and come at us. And lose. It's good. Like he's spending his own personal money on all of this, right?
I mean, there's funds from his church.
And church. Okay, good. Like I'm hoping more Christians waste all their money at trying to defeat secularism and us demonic people, and waste their money because eventually we're going to win and they're going to lose and they are going to go the way of the dodo. So and they could just
also just, this doesn't necessarily fit into the rest of this story, but I have to talk about this because this is wild to me. So he's controversial for many other positions as well, and you are not going to believe the position that he took on this one. In the early 2000s, Wilson received criticism over a book titled Southern Slavery as It Was, which he had co-written in the 1990s with J. Stephen Wilkins. Wilkins is a Louisiana pastor who is a co-founder of the Neo-Confederate organization, the League of the South. And this co-author is also a member of Wilson's church's umbrella group. So Protestant denominations have like umbrella organizations that they fall under, right? So they have a relation through their congregations there. The book depicted slavery in the antebellum Southern United States as, quote, a relationship based on mutual affection and confidence.
Mutual?
Yes. And argued that...
Does this guy know what slavery means? Mutual? There's nothing mutual about... if it's mutual, it's technically not slavery. But go on.
And argued that the enslaved enjoyed, quote, a life of plenty, of simple pleasures, of food, clothes, and good medical care.
Okay, well then let them leave if they want to. If it's so good, then you don't have to force them to stay. So why would you have to? These people, they're like, I keep hearing this from so many people, including like Muslim Islam apologists who say like slavery was good under Islam. I'm like, well, if it was so great, then give them the option to leave and they won't leave, and then it wouldn't be slavery anymore. Like what? Why does this argument so often used by people who try to whitewash slavery? Like, but they had it so well. Okay, then they don't need to be slaves. They would voluntarily stay. Oh God, so dumb.
It's
Can you
so
read this?
wild.
Yeah.
Secularity is saying, yeah, good news is there are too many secular believers and non-believers that will continue to uphold the secular laws in the United States that won't let it become a theocracy. Bad news is this dude exists. Actually, we're going to be talking about the support for secularism later in the show today.
Yeah. All right. Actually, should I bring the next news?
Yes.
Is there anything you want to highlight before we go? Ooh, this news! I'm so glad that you picked this one, Suze. Good job.
Yay! I'm
All
glad
right.
you know about this.
Yes. So we can clap, eh?
Yes, we can.
Next news.
Next news. Muslim NBA player Enes Kanter calls out China on Uyghur genocide. During the game against the Charlotte Hornets on October 25th, Boston Celtics player Enes Kanter blasted Nike over its use of Chinese labor, specifically Uyghur slave labor. Kanter is one of the most prominent Muslim NBA players in the league. He wore personalized shoes with the phrases, quote, made with slave labor, modern day slaves, no more excuses, and hypocrite Nike painted visibly on the sides. In a Twitter video, he addressed Nike directly, highlighting that the company has been very keen to talk about racial injustices in the United States, but has remained silent regarding China's treatment of their Muslim minority ethnic groups, such as the Uyghurs, Kazakhs, and Tajiks. Nike has not released any official statement in response to Kanter's video. On the other hand, China banned all broadcasts of any Boston Celtics games while keeping other NBA broadcasts available. So this is a huge story. Like, I don't know if people appreciate how big of a story this is. This is a story that has hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, both for Enes personally and his career as a professional athlete, but also for the entire NBA league at large. Enes is a Swiss-born Turkish guy, and I have been playing for the NBA for a really long time now. I mean,
I'm Muslim, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's Muslim.
Yeah.
So you guys, we support this guy's activism because just because we're against Islam, we don't, that doesn't mean that we can't have a common goal with somebody that believes in Islam, right? We constantly crap on Islam, but on this, we're united with Muslims who are against China's, tyranny. So yes, this is really good. We support this. In fact, once you're done, I'm going to show some of the shoes. But go on.
Yes, that's what I wanted to do too. So I think this is really, really important on so many different levels. One, if it's important to understand the background of this, to understand the significance, right? So I believe it was last year, the general manager of the Houston Rockets, which is an NBA team, obviously in Houston, tweeted a tweet in support of freedom for Hong Kong. Basically something along the lines of like, don't be silent, like stand up for freedom in Hong Kong. And this caused huge repercussions for the NBA. The NBA has a giant, almost like incomprehensibly for me, like large audience in China. Millions and millions, over $1 billion invested in this market, getting from this market. The numbers of the viewers that they pull in are astronomical. And this is actually, I'm not going to get into that detail right now, but the fact that it was the Houston Rockets was the team that this happened with is itself very significant. So this caused huge backlash from the Chinese government and then also from the NBA itself. The general manager had to delete this tweet. He had to make an apology. Even just like the random team members of the Houston Rockets,
which is
had to
insane.
The fact that China
China has so much power that all these like business tycoons in United States will have to bow down, be like, "We're sorry, China. We're not going to let any of our players to even criticize you, even mildly, even suggesting that you're doing anything wrong." Like, think about like China recently discovered that the fact that it doesn't have just the largest amount of workers in the world, it also has the largest amount of consumers in the world. And because it has, the people are buying stuff from in China used to just sell things, mostly was responsible for selling to the world. But now the power that it has is that it's also the main buyer. And like, I'm going to use this as a political tool. And this one guy, Enes guy, is that his, like, how do you say his name, is
I think
now
that's how you
making
pronounce
it like, I mean, now that is showing that you don't get to do that, China, in the free world. This is gonna backfire. Like, imagine like big giant organizations like Nike and NBA. They wanted to be like, okay, we're buying down to China, and then you have one player like, I'm gonna make this hell for all of you. I'm gonna make this hell for China, Chinese government. I'm gonna make this hell for Nike, and I'm gonna make this hell for the NBA. This is the difference between Western country and China. As much as we criticize Western countries, the fact that one individual gets to cause so much hassle for giant multi-billion-dollar companies, and nobody can do anything. This is not China. You can't silence this guy. You can't make this guy disappear. You can't scare his family to shut up. He gets to do all of this, and the world's biggest billions of dollars are at play here and could be lost because of this guy's thoughts and what he's saying, and nobody can do anything about it. But you know why? He can do that? Because he's free. This is what you get when you have freedom in a country. It's a concept that China is not very familiar with. This is how one guy gets to intimidate billion-dollar companies in the United States, because we have freedom in the United States and you don't have that in China. Okay, and China needs to realize that these kind of silencing and intimidating games are not going to work in free countries. Eventually, it's going to backfire. Go on.
So I just want to talk about like some other reasons why this is significant. So partially because when the incident happened back with the Houston Rockets, China took a very offensive approach. Like I can't remember exactly, but I think they're basically like threatening to just like pull everything. And there was a big reaction.
Do it.
There was a huge reaction because of this from the league. And what's different this time is that they're handling it a little bit more quietly. They're just pulling the games from this particular team. They're blocking any mention of this at all everywhere, and they have to pull the actual games itself because he's wearing these shoes onto the court.
More players should wear it. Other games, guys, go buy this man's shoes so that more players, like, I can make some money out of this. Like, like, it's a different, guys. This is a wealth transfer from the NBA to the players themselves. The NBA would lose money, but the players could make money by selling the shoes. Okay, so go buy the. So like, make China have to censor all of the games, guys. Chinese people love these games. Okay, if you want to make the Chinese people turn against the CCP in China, make them censor all of these games. You can't censor everything. Eventually you would have to, guys, if more people support companies, companies or players or celebrities that take these anti-China thing, then eventually China has to do what? Censor all of Disney, censor all of NBA, censor all of everything. What if Apple one day comes out and I'm like, oh, this is like, we're going to go to Vietnam instead of China because, I don't know, you guys, this is slavery. Okay. Like, Chinese people, they love their Apple products. Like, eventually, like, imagine if Apple makes it. Again, I'm not saying these companies care for, like, companies be companies, right? They care about profits, right? But again, if it's within their interest to raise a stink because you guys demanded it, eventually as much as big of a consumer base China is, what's the bigger consumer base in China's market is the American market. Okay, so the American consumer, if the American consumer becomes conscious enough to care about the products that are consuming, eventually it's between which consumers you care about the most. And again, Americans have more money. But go on.
Well, just to be clear, he isn't selling these shoes, but it's
Wait,
it's really,
he should.
huh?
He
Oh.
should. Okay, but go. Okay.
So obviously there is a sense of like the personal risk to him in his career. This could make big corporations that could theoretically, you know, sign like very lucrative sponsorship deals with him, maybe not willing to sign these deals with him because they might have business affiliations in China, you know. So this is coming at a personal cost to him. I think it's also significant because he is ethnically Turkish, and he's actually had some scuffles with the Erdogan government. And this is particularly important because the Uyghurs are a Turkic ethnic minority, right? So theoretically, you would think that they'd be able to get support from the other Turkic ethnic groups that are west of China. That's actually not the case because in many of these countries are kind of like client states of China, and even Turkey, which has for a long time been the safest place that these people could escape to, is actually starting to deport people back to China. And Uyghurs previously used to be able to gain citizenship in Turkey a lot easier, and that process is becoming more and more difficult as the situation in Xinjiang has gotten more restrictive. And so I thought that was an interesting flavor to the story. And I want to show more pictures of the other shoes that he's done, because he doesn't just talk about the Uyghur genocide. He talks about a lot of other
Tibet.
issues
He
that are
talks
going
about
on in China.
Tibet as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, show the shoes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to. Wait, let me pull
Oh,
this
you
up.
want me to? You want me to? I
No,
have
no,
it
I have
already
it
if you
actually
want.
ready right here. Okay.
Wait, I really thought he's selling them. Why is he not selling them? The Winnie the Oh, actually, he can't sell the Winnie the Pooh one because Winnie the Pooh is trademarked.
Well, and he might not be able to sell them at all, especially the Nike shoes, because of there's been issues with artists trying to do that before in the past. So,
well, yeah, the one that says Nike, you can't sell that because Nike is trademarked. The one with the Winnie the Pooh, you can't sell that because Winnie the Pooh is trademarked. But the other ones you can. Oh, the Olympic ones, he can. Okay, go on.
So he's been going on. He's just been going on an absolute tear recently. Here is a video he made about Tibet, and then he has free Tibet shoes. And what I think is really cool is he hires like local, well, maybe not local, but basically like diaspora artists to make these shoes. So he got like Tibetan artists to make his free Tibet shoes. He got Chinese dissident to make his Hong Kong shoes.
The Winnie the Pooh one, that one is see at the Tiananmen Square.
Yeah, so here we have
that one. Oh my god, that's perfect. You know, I hope people know here that Winnie the Pooh, the significance of that.
Free China. Well, can you explain to them the significance of the Winnie
Well,
the Pooh?
that's Xi. Some people suggested that he looks like Winnie the Pooh, and ever since Winnie the Pooh became illegal in China as and therefore obviously that had everybody loved the fact that they were sensitive about Winnie the Pooh, and they now ever since they just made him associated with people talk about like there's censors, like there's in China, within China there were censors, like you couldn't even search for Winnie the Pooh, or you could, like in chats, if you wrote Winnie the Pooh, that would be like censored, that would be like flagged or whatever. So people try to use other ways to like talk about honey and honeypot and other ways to refer to it, because the more sensitive you are about it, obviously the more people would want to use it as a anyways.
So here you
it's
can
just
actually
like
see him wearing the shoes on the court.
No more excuses. Modern day slavery. Hypocrite Nike. I like the hypocrite Nike one. Guys, there needs to be a cost associated with you supporting modern day concentration camps. Like,
Yeah,
guys,
so he has shoes that are against the 2022 Olympic Games in China.
Yeah.
And here
You
he
know,
has some
consumerism is so
pom-pom.
strong. I think like this, what I think is like people who are like, oh, consumerism is bad. I honestly think the only way to tackle consumerism that ends up funding evil stuff is to fight it back with consumerism. The only way is to fight fire with fire, like to tackle it with a different form of consumerism that that brings awareness to horrible stuff or tries to fight back against it. Like there's no other way. You know what I mean? Like it's too powerful of a force for you to be like, like, oh, we need to end consumerism because it's like supporting this and supporting that. Well, maybe change the consumerism in a different direction. Like this guy, I wish he was
Yeah.
selling you these. Like, why can't you buy these? Like, why can't like some of them at least?
I don't
Why
know.
is he not selling? What is he doing? He's just showing them. Why can't
Well,
he have a
yeah, that itself is causing a huge ruckus. But I wanted to
yeah,
talk about this. Um,
yeah, okay,
so after he's been like taking these stands so publicly, a lot of people have been showing up to his games to support him. And honestly, like this makes me kind of emotional. So here we see like all these people lined up, and on their shirts it says "We Heart Kanter," and they're holding the Tibetan flag. And then you see people holding the same signs, except this time they're holding the Uyghur flag. And then on the people who are wearing shirts, they turned around and it says "Free Tibet." And then was it today? Yeah, today he posted this video of him giving a speech at Washington D.C. about why is it freezing? About all the different issues going on in China, but specifically the Uyghur genocide. And it okay, if this wasn't freezing, which is so annoying, you could see that there's like kind of this older woman who comes up and gives him this scarf, and she like ties it around his neck, and she like won't stop trying to hug him and thank him. And I don't know, it made me emotional because like for
refresh it.
yeah, for these people, like, I mean, I'm not trying to generalize, but they really don't get a lot of the attention that they should.
Hmm.
And I can imagine how much it means to actually have someone with this much of an audience, with this much on the line, and the fact he's in the center of these huge relationships regarding, the NBA in China, and at the center of it all, and having seizing that opportunity to take that stand and to talk about this and have probably like millions of people hear about this for the first time because of him. I don't know. I feel like I can just tell how much it means to a lot of the people who have voiced their support to him. And I like how he went about it in such a creative way. And I think we've seen across the world, like so many Islamic countries or Muslim majority countries fail to stand up and support the Uyghurs. While obviously, like the idea of kind of like this religious unification over protecting the people of Palestine is globally so strong. And compared to um the reaction to what's happening in Xinjiang, like it can often feel so disappointing. But because so many of these Muslim majority countries have, obviously it's like on a national policy level, um, even endorsed what China is doing, it's up to individual people, like individual Muslims, to actually, take a position on this and speak out against it. Um, so I think he's doing a cool thing.
I want to highlight a comment and just let me talk about this for a second, okay?
Yeah.
Uh, so Sunny's saying the irony of a Muslim complaining against the Chinese. Has he read his book? This is such a dumb and idiotic comment, okay, Sunny? Obviously, he doesn't have those values. Like your attitude towards who, like, do you understand that a huge chunk of this planet is Muslim and Christian? And if you want to consider them to be hypocrites because they endorse books that have, views that might be in line with the authoritarian nature of the Chinese, then we can't work with, and also, Hindus, we can't work with anybody to make anything happen. Okay. We have this is such a destructive, like, look at somebody actually doing something. This guy is doing something that you are not, Sunny. He is like doing, the fact that if I have to choose between Muslims who maybe we have a disagreement with, and they don't maybe think that their books represent something good and peaceful, and we completely disagree, and we think that maybe they don't understand their own religion because they are not very familiar with their own books and hadiths. That's a disagreement we have with them, but that takes like a back seat compared to the fact that this guy is actually doing something and bringing attention. He's actually doing something, while you just talk, and you're, compared, like, if I had to choose between a Muslim that is doing something to make the world better but has views that I disagree with, compared to an atheist who have views that I agree with but is not doing crap about anything, I pick the Muslim. I would pick the Christian. I would pick the Hindu. They're so much superior to you and your way of thinking. They can't even work with people because of the disagreements that we have. Okay, guys, Islam itself has views that are completely destructive, but the Muslims who are better than Islam, who don't have those standards, don't have those values, the vast majority of Muslims are way superior than Islam. Their values are more in line with what we think is healthy for a society. Yes, we have that disagreement with them. We think that they think that their views and values are Islamic. We think no. We think they're better. We think they are better than Islam. That disagreement is insignificant compared to what we need to move everything forward. Okay, I consider this guy an ally against the evil that is the CCP. I'm not going to let our disagreement over Islam hold us back. I'm not going to shut up about Islam. I'm still going to point out how bad and evil Islam is, but I'm not going to let that disagreement make us up. Like, how are we? How much of the planet is atheist? You think we could get anything done without help, without uniting with other people? You're going to let these disagreements stop you from working with other people? Like, how idiotic, how stupid this kind of line of thinking has to be. Like, the irony of a Muslim campaigning against the Chinese. Has he read his own book? The irony of an atheist just sitting back. Let me finish. The irony of an atheist sitting back and commenting on a YouTube live stream, thinking that he's accomplishing anything, criticizing somebody that is actually doing something. The irony of somebody that is doing nothing complaining about somebody that is actually doing something far beyond anything you're going to do in your life to make anything happen, Sunny. Like, that's the irony. You think you get to complain. He's doing something. Go on, Susie.
Well, I particularly hate that statement because it's like it's essentializing him to the Quran. Like, it's essentializing him to that book. No one's like that. Like, you can't just reduce a person to their scripture.
Yeah, and also Ian is saying, atheists have got only atheists have got only one answer right. Yeah, you guys think you're so right about everything. We got one answer correct. One answer. Is there a God? Is there any evidence for the existence of God? No. Do you think that makes you high and mighty above everybody else on everything else? Okay. No, like a Muslim and a Christian have got the answer to is Islam true or is Christianity true or if there is a God. They got those answers wrong. We agree. They got those answers wrong. But when it comes to other things, they might be above you. Okay. When it comes to them doing something about China or doing something about some other injustice in the world, they might be above many atheists because they're doing something and you're not. What did you see? You want to highlight something, Sis?
Secular Rarity made me laugh, saying, LOL, Susanna waiting patiently for Armin to stop yelling so she can start yelling. Wait, that's like, I need to write this down. That's basically the definition of this show.
Yeah. Wait, what was I not listening?
I'm
Armin
not
was in the
sure,
same.
but
What are you talking about?
the
Secularity? You can't turn me and Susanna against each other. That's not gonna work. I don't know what you're doing.
the last thing that I wanted to say about this news is that I'm disappointed that this hasn't been covered more widely in like more left-leaning mainstream media. It basically hasn't been covered at all. And that has given it the opportunity for this to become a right-wing issue. When I was looking for videos covering this story like online, I was looking on YouTube, and the only like pretty much the only people talking about this news was either right-wing conservatives or tankies who hate this guy and just make fun of him for taking these positions, you know? And I'm really disappointed with left-leaning media for not jumping in and supporting stuff like this. It's taking a stand, it's doing it very creatively. Maybe it would highlight their own hypocrisy too much. I don't know.
Okay, one thing I keep saying, especially among left-leaning audience when it comes to this. So they're left-leaning. They're either, some of them, the fringe group of them are tankies who are not just ignoring this, they're actually actively defending the CCP, which is okay. So leave those people aside. Those people are insane. But there's a whole bunch of other more mainstream leftists, because the tankies don't represent most of the leftists. But the problem I have with mainstream lefties people, not all of them, but a lot of them, is that every time you bring up China and the things that they're doing, they what the number one thing that I hear as a comeback is, but United States also. Oh, like God, these are the people who are familiar with the concept of whataboutism, and yet every time you talk about human rights violations that China is involved in, I should say the CCP, not China, the CCP is involved in, they're like, well, our government also, oh yeah, okay, we will talk about the human rights violations of Western countries when that is the topic. Can you shut up for half a second when we're trying to highlight these specific human rights violations right here, right now? Can you give it a rest for a minute? We will dedicate the time that we need to bring up the human rights violations of a country like United States. We will have a dedicated time for that. We have brought attention to it many times here, for example, on this channel, especially for the war crimes that United States is responsible for in Yemen. But why is it that every time this knee-jerk reaction, this constant distracting tactics that some of leftist people have, when we, like, you keep saying like, yeah, China bad, but this but that comes at the end of this is heavily suggesting to me that you don't want to talk about the evils of China, because you don't do that when we talk about the evils of United States, do you? Okay, when was the last time you heard a lefty say, like when we, for example, say United States has committed war crimes in Yemen, and their support of Saudi Arabia in killing civilians and children and hospitals and schools and all of that? We say that. When was it that a lefty came out and said, yeah, United States does war crimes, but, like, what do you hear that? Do you hear that, like, they say, but China, but Iran, but Saudi Arabia, they don't do that. Why is it that it goes only the one way and not the other way around? I don't understand. Somebody explain that to me. Anyways.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's super frustrating. And like I said, I hate that they're basically just letting the right have this position. This shouldn't be something that is politicized as a right-wing position.
Yeah, the problem, again, hashtag not all, I'm not talking about all right-leaning people, but the problem is that the left should own this. The left was supposed to be the champions of, oppressed groups, okay? we shouldn't let the right-leaning people be anti-CCP, because the right-leaning people, a lot of them are not anti-CCP. They're anti-Chinese people because they're xenophobic, okay? So don't let right-leaning people monopolize this, because they're not actually interested in helping oppressed people. They're just anti-foreigners, okay? Again, not all, but that's, come on, right? The right-leaning people who are not xenophobes, if they're not admitting that a lot of them are xenophobes, then you're part of the problem, even if you personally are not one of them, okay? But again, this is supposed to be a left-leaning issue, but again, yeah, apparently it's not. Anyways, I'm gonna stop yelling. Actually, no, never mind. I don't know. Depending on what the news is gonna be.
No, I think that's all I have to say. We can move on to the next news.
Can we? I almost said, can we crap for the next news? Okay, I have to be careful. Can we clap for the next news?
Yes, because this is a bit more. It's relatively more lighthearted. It's kind of
okay. Next news.
Pakistani minister. Next news. Pakistani minister claims cricket win is, quote, victory for Islam. On October 25th, Sheikh Rashid Ahmed, the interior minister of Pakistan, made a bizarre claim in a video posted on Twitter after Pakistan had won a cricket match against India. In the video, he is seen to claim that, quote, Pakistan's triumph against India is a victory of Islam, and that, quote, all Muslims throughout the world are rejoicing. Many were quick to criticize the minister's response over a sports victory. The minister's statement has caused added tensions and animosity towards the Hindu minority in Pakistan. This statement quickly went viral and caused a significant storm on Twitter. Many were quick to point out that they didn't realize that India's many cricket wins over Pakistan were in fact victories for Hinduism all along. So
okay,
if you guys
I'm
are from
upset.
India or Pakistan, I would love to see your commentary on this, because I saw this blowing up on Twitter one day and I was like, we have to cover this.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that. Somebody else already said this. So, like, be careful with that claim, because you're not going to win forever. So if you say this is a victory for Islam, then you're saying Islam has been defeated. Are you going to come out and the next time India wins, are you going to come and say that Islam has been defeated? Islam has been defeated. Are you going to say that? Somehow I doubt that. And you're right. Like, actually, this is going to make. Do you think, like, next time India wins, they're going to come out and say this has been a win for Hinduism? I bet there's going to be
probably.
Probably.
So partially what people who know about cricket, please correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know anything about cricket. I actually think it's like the worst sport there is. But
it is.
It's the worst.
Okay, let me explain to you. It's the most boring sport in the world is so baseball, boring. But cricket is like, take that and make it longer. That's what it is. Okay, it's basically the most boring, a longer version of the most boring sports in the world, and that's cricket. But go on.
No, I agree. The longest cricket game is 9 days long, and if that doesn't tell you how dumb things are, who has the time? Anyways, so I went onto Twitter one day, and because I follow a lot of news agencies in the subcontinent, I get a lot of stuff suggested to me on Twitter of, hashtags from the subcontinent. And I go onto Twitter one day and I see it just blowing up. It was like hashtag victory for Islam or something. And I was like, what's going on? And I investigate and I see this, and he's presumably speaking Urdu, so I can't actually understand him in the video. But everyone was just like, it was just freaking out about it. Obviously, because cricket is so huge in the subcontinent. And part of what made this so big was that this is the first time that Pakistan has beat India, like in a World Series or something. You cricketers, please let me know. But what's also interesting is what happened on the other side of the border, so to speak. So in India, it's been reported that there were Muslims who were being harassed by police or even arrested for cheering for Pakistan during this game.
Amazing.
And I didn't have time to look more into those details, but I know that Hara Sultan did a video about this issue
Is
few
this a
days
real
ago.
news? Is this a real news? Like people got arrested in India for cheering for Pakistan. This is not like a. This can be like it can't get big. Come on, India can't be getting that ridiculous. Are things? This is too much. I refuse to believe. I refuse to believe. Live chat,
Dude.
Indians in the live chat. Please tell me this is not real.
Oh
This
my
is made
God.
up.
Well, let's take a peruse. Wait, no.
This is fake news. I refuse to believe that the world has gone that insane. We're talking about the second most populated
From
country
Voice
in the
of
world.
America.
Okay, great.
Bring
it up.
From Voice of America. Indian Muslims arrested for celebrating Pakistani cricket victory over India.
This I can't. No, I'm
Indian
leaving.
Police have detained or arrested at least a dozen Muslims for allegedly celebrating Pakistan's cricket victory.
How is this a crime? Which one of the crimes have they broken? What was the charge?
Well, India is known for its liberal use of sedition laws. I'm not even kidding. They're going to try to say that it's sedition. Partially, this has to do because some of these people were in Uttar Pradesh, and 3 of the students who were arrested were Kashmiri.
Amazing. It's insane. This is India, by the way. Guys, like,
The
if this was
state's
happening,
chief minister said all would be charged with sedition, and this accused could face up to 7 years in jail.
No, I don't have any comments. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain. Like if this was like Saudi Arabia, I don't know, Iran, Pakistan, the fact that this is India, the problem is like it's a sign of things going backwards. When you hear about ridiculous things in other places, it's not that we accept them. It's we're looking at the relative to how it was before. I mean, like, okay, things are bad, but things are getting better. The problem is when we're looking at India and Pakistan, things are going backwards, like heavily backwards. Like India is a secular democracy, supposed to be. What the hell? This is a joke. This country is turning into a joke. People are getting arrested for cheering the wrong side of a sports team, of a sports match. Is that okay? But the 7 years is a joke. These people are going to go free, right?
That's the sentence you could face for sedition.
No, I don't know what to say about this.
It's insane. So like this whole story is pretty crazy from top to bottom. One, just like I think we can all say like, oh, it's pretty ridiculous for this interior minister to just like claim a cricket win
Scroll
as
so we can see the title,
like a way to claim everything as Islam, right? I read a really interesting article by DW today about how cricket is a social distraction in the subcontinent in particular. So here's a quote. Sociologists say that ruling classes all over the world use sports as a distraction from real political issues. In Pakistan, cricket serves the same purpose. During cricket tournaments, people tend to forget about misgovernance and staggering inflation and take refuge in nationalism. Cricket has become increasingly associated with politics in India and Pakistan. So basically it talks about how Pakistan is facing one of the worst economic crises in its history, and Prime Minister Imran Khan has been, criticized for using the rising inflation and the depreciating currency. But cricket provides this opportunity for him for his parties or the government in general to unify the country. So it's one of these moments where, especially in a match against India, a victory is like, that's something we did. Like, you know, everything else is not going so well, but like we can pretend that we're this really great thing because we defeated these Hindus like in this match. Like, but then on the other side in India, like it's still so bad itself. Like in response to someone cheering for a foreign team, you're going to charge them with sedition. Like it's just so extreme on both sides. Oh, I see what you're pulling up. This is perfect.
Yeah. Bring it. No, yeah. No, I just like I just wanted to have like the it's amazing because a lot of Hindutva people come here and defend India and like they tell us we're exaggerating, things are not that bad. And I just like wonder, like, do these people not follow the news? Like, do they not see what's happening to their country? Like, do they not see that they're turning to Pakistan? Like, this is a Hindu version of Pakistan. They're becoming what they hate the most. Like, at some point, do they not think like this is like what are we doing to our country? Like, do they not see that they're on the wrong side when people are going to jail for cheering, the wrong side of a sport, when people are falling in love and they're like separating people from each other because their religions are not the same, when they're attacking weddings, when they have making Hindu women have miscarriage in the prison because their father is a Muslim. Like, do they not think like, are we not like, do they not ever, these people in India, do they not consider like maybe maybe there's something wrong with the way that we're heading? Like, if they read a novel and they were in that novel, wouldn't they obviously see that these are the bad people? Like, these are the evil characters in the story. Like, anybody reading, if this was fiction, this would be cartoonishly evil. Like, this would be, if this was like, it's supposed to be representing a theocracy or a tyranny or like a dictatorship, like in a fiction, and some people were getting arrested for cheering the wrong team, people would be like, make this more believable. This is like too evil. This is cartoonishly evil. Like, that doesn't happen in the real world, but apparently it does. But yeah, go on.
It's not just any team. Like someone in the live chat is pointing out, no one would have a problem if it was just any other country, but it's Pakistan, and especially Muslim celebrating, it's going to have severe consequences. So that's a good point. Like, if they were cheering for the Netherlands, or I don't know, New Zealand, they have a cricket team, okay, like beating India, like I doubt that there would be this level of consequence. But because it's Indian Muslims celebrating Pakistan's victory, Hindu nationalists are taking that opportunity to say, look, they're not even Indian. They don't want to be Indian. They're taking like some people doing this, one, arresting them for something like this, which is insane. And two, using that to demonize an entire group and say they don't even want to be here. They're undermining our country. They're not even part of us to begin with. It's really, it's really disappointing. I'm really like, stuff like this really makes me upset.
But this is against a self-fulfilling curse, okay? Because they're like, look, these people do not think that they're Indian. You know why? Because of the stuff you're doing to them. Maybe because you put them in jail for supporting, the other side of the of a match. Like, like, they're like, oh, these people are loyal to another country and they're not loyal to India. Maybe if you treat them better, they will feel more like they belong here. Have you tried that? Have you tried acting like they're equal citizens, that they're not like a lower class, second class citizens? Maybe instead of arresting them when you don't like what they do, like, you're pushing them away. And I mean, you like this. You want them to feel less Indian. You want them to act like they're betraying India because you want excuses to abuse them. You enjoy abusing these people. This is what you do. This is your purpose. This is how you get people angry enough to vote for you. This is how you become politically relevant. You need them as an enemy. So you abuse them so that they feel even more separate from the rest of India. So you could use as an excuse to keep on abusing them. Like, it's a cycle, and it's going to escalate, right? They both are feeding on each other. Anyways, I was thinking of attacking cricket. Maybe we'll bring Pakistanis and Indians together.
Yes, against us.
Against us. Maybe that's how we unite them. If we keep attacking cricket as a lame sport that it is.
Well, you know what?
That's one thing that Pakistanis and Indians will agree with each other, and they will unite with each other against us, and that's how we bring them together.
You know what that reminds me of? In the heat of the sexy Cali blasphemy controversy, I remember seeing there was this guy on Twitter who was a Muslim, and he was creating these scripts so you could run your computer and run this script, and it would automatically report Atheist Republic content, and he like even made this available online so anyone could start using this to just automatically start mass reporting our stuff. And in one of his tweets, it was a Muslim guy, and he was like, you know, this they insult Muhammad too, and then it's a divided by religion, united by reporting. So we will single-handedly unite Pakistan and India over their hatred of us. How about that? You're muted.
Okay, so I want to highlight this. Atheist Republic has no show on Hindu genocide in Bangladesh. One can understand as their upbringing under Islam left. What?
Oh my goodness.
Hatred for Hindus, idolaters, India. We have had, you're an idiot. We have had a lot of coverage of what happened in Bangladesh against Hindus. We have had many news items. In fact, we have had we interviewed Hindus in Bangladesh to talk about their plight as well. So I don't know what you're talking about.
I've actually been making an effort to learn about the Hindu genocide in Bangladesh recently.
Look at this. Look at this. Is one interview a Hindu living under Islam in Bangladesh? The another one we have, is Bangladesh doing better than India? We have another attack on Hindu temple spread.
No, but those are usually specific news items, not the actual Hindu genocide itself.
Yeah, but we could. Yeah, they're talking about the historical event.
Mm-hmm. In the 1970s.
Okay. Oh yeah, I remember you telling me that you're studying that, guys. Yeah, we cover news items about what's happening, so we don't have any news items about. We don't have any coverage that many coverages of historical events. When we do, we're going to cover all sides, but you can't act like we're not paying attention to the plight of Hindus in Bangladesh. We have so many. Look, this is a lot of coverage. So MK Mishra, if you are suggesting that we're like biased in a way that we ignore the plight of Hindus in Bangladesh, look, you're an idiot. If that's what
actually, in fact, we're going to be talking about a news related to that in the next news story.
Oh wow! Okay, MK Mishra, you should go in front of a mirror and you should look at your reflection in the mirror and you have to repeat these words. Okay, why I am such a moron? Why am I so stupid? Why do I assume things without checking? Why am I so insane? Like, what's wrong with you, MK? Just ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Why do I make assumptions like this? I need to do better. I can do better. I can be better than this. Okay, I can be better. I can stop being an idiot. Okay, try that, MK. See what happens. Okay. Anyways.
Speaking of, let's move to the next news.
Okay, hold on. Oh yeah, you're right. Oh, you should feel like such an idiot, MK. God, that gets to the next news. MK, it's the next news. I'm so embarrassed for you, MK. I'm so embarrassed. It's the next news. We're covering Bangladesh stuff. Oh no, I'm so sorry. You must feel so stupid right now. Anyways, can we clap for the next news? No, right?
Let's not clap for this one. Okay. Next news. Rally protesting against anti-Hindu violence results in vandalized mosque. So I wanted to cover this story because it is like one of it's a just and just lock in your mind an example of how Hindu nationalists actually fail at protecting Hindus. Okay, this is a fantastic example of that. Okay, in late October, shops, homes, and mosques were attacked during a rally in the small Indian state of Tripura. The incident happened during a protest held by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, or VHP, a right wing Hindu nationalist organization that was supposed to be in response to the egregious violence committed against Hindus in neighboring Bangladesh during the Durga Puja festival earlier that month. The scenes in Tripura are shockingly similar to the violence in Bangladesh that the mob was protesting against. According to the police inspector general, the damaged shops and houses reportedly belonged to families from the local Muslim minority community. Online coverage of the protests and violence in Tripura is trending on Twitter with the hashtag Tripura Muslims under attack, in response to the hashtag for what happened in Durga Puja, which was Bangladeshi Hindus under attack. Shekhar Datta, a local...
Where is Tripura?
I'll get into that in a second. A local journalist claimed that specific individuals wanted to use the recent events in Bangladesh as an excuse to attack Muslim minorities in India. So this is very interesting, actually. I was learning about
before. We're talking about two separate things in two different places, right? We're talking about as a reaction to what happened in Bangladesh. In Tripura, India, something is happening in Tripura in India, right? Tripura in India, right? So It's a little bit confusing geographically for people who might not know. But good, continue.
People in the left chat are saying I should pronounce it Tripura. Thank you. So if you look at a map, like Bangladesh is surrounded basically on all sides, except for a little bit with Myanmar, by India. Right? So it's like on three sides, it's surrounded by India. It's basically inside India. Well, Tripura is actually, if Bangladesh is shaped kind of like this, like Tripura is actually right inside this little nook of Bangladesh. So Tripura itself is surrounded on three sides by Bangladesh, the way that Bangladesh is surrounded on three sides by India. Now in Tripura, 9% of the population is Muslim, which is comparable, in percentage, to the roughly 9% of Hindus that make up Bangladesh. And like I said, because it's surrounded on three sides by Bangladesh, it's actually, this state is extremely close to the Bangladeshi city of Kumila, where the violence against Hindus was originally sparked and where it was some of the worst and where the military was deployed to. So that's a little bit of background. It's really interesting. So at first there wasn't a lot of news coming out about this. And then as I was researching today, I saw that Al Jazeera actually just published an extensive report of what happened in the area. So look at it, it's like right in the nook. The little orange part or red part. That's Tripura. Wait, you're muted.
Wait, and this white part is Bangladesh?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. They're surrounded by Bangladesh. Okay. All right. This whole gray area is India, and this red part is the Tripura part of India. Okay.
Yeah, that one state. It's a very little state.
Okay.
When I was first reading about this news, I thought it was just like one mosque that was vandalized. This report from Al Jazeera details like how severe it got. It said that at 16 different mosques were targeted, and that that the mob was even tearing up trees that were worth thousands of dollars, like in the area in front of the mosque's courtyard. Broken windows and smashed ceilings. the mob was shouting provocative, derogatory slogans against the prophet. Suddenly 30 or 40 of them came towards the mosque and vandalized it. After attacking the mosque in Chantila, the rally proceeded towards Roa, a short distance away, where a group of Muslims had gathered at the local mosque. Some of those who were part of the rally wanted to march towards the mosque, but they were stopped by police and some of the Hindus of the village, who local shop owner said. Then a section of the mob first attacked a couple of houses on the periphery of the village and started torching shops that belonged to Muslims. Approximately half a dozen in the market were either fully or partially burned. One of them even served as a local BJP office. Even that was not spared, said the local shop owner as he stood inside his charred shop where he sold footwear and clothes. It went on for over an hour. The police couldn't stop them. So then they interviewed the police, and the police said that they were outnumbered. So the VHP party did have a permit to take on to hold this rally. However, the people who showed up greatly outnumbered the actual number of people that they were supposed to be allowed to congregate, and so that the police were outnumbered and they couldn't do anything about it. So it goes on with like a lot of different incidents, including homes being targeted, and like I said, 16 different mosques, and even the United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, or USRIF for short, which is a nonpartisan part of the State Department. I'm a huge fan of USRIF and the research that they put out, and how they make so much information available about religious freedom. They even issued a statement about what was happening in Tripura, saying, USRIF is particularly alarmed about the reports in Tripura of mobs desecrating mosques and torching property of Muslims. The Indian government must bring those responsible for instigating and engaging in religious violence to justify and must prevent further attacks. Must bring them to justice. Sorry. What's also particularly worrying is that as people were trying to raise awareness about this issue, people have started to face charges for posting videos of this. So on Thursday, Tripura police said I can't talk today. It had arrested 6 people in various communal incident cases. 4 others were arrested for being involved in spreading malicious propaganda for a view to creating hatred between 2 religious groups. Meanwhile, at least 2 New Delhi-based lawyers who were part of the fact-finding mission to Tripura have been booked under the stringent Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, a controversial anti-terror law. So now they're putting charges against people who were like posting about this online, basically. Cybercrime Tripura's official account said, these are fake videos being circulated under criminal conspiracy to disturb the peace and communal harmony in the state and defame the state governments and police. Police has registered criminal cases and suitable actions against the fake rumors being taken expeditiously. Which is nonsensical, because Al Jazeera went and reported, and you can see the photos of they're like, yeah, they set our prayer mats on fire. They were going to set the mosque on fire, but we stopped them. Like, you can see pictures of their burned prayer rugs.
Wait, fake videos? How? Do these people like have Hollywood level capabilities of staging all of this? This is like moon landing stuff, kind of like conspiracy levels.
I will say I do have, particularly because I only speak English. Like when I'm consuming content from India, it is considerably more difficult for me to be able to ascertain based on what's in the footage, what's happening. Does it seem credible and in line with the rest of the story and the narrative being portrayed? So that's something that's a lot harder for me to make those judgments, right? But this can't all be fake. So to me, initially, this seems like a blatant attempt to try to cover up the situation or punish people who are talking about it at the very least, because in other ways they're saying, oh, we've arrested so-and-so people, we're going to hold them accountable, yada, yada. But Armin, I would like to hear your thoughts on what I said earlier, where I said this is an example of how Hindu nationalists fail Hindus and hurt Hindus.
Yeah. How is it going? Okay, so we the Hindus in Bangladesh deserve protecting, and they're being mistreated and abused, and they're in a very vulnerable position, and they need all the activism and all the attention that we could muster. Okay, and we will, whenever it happens, something happens to Hindus in Bangladesh, we try to bring attention to that, and we try to cover it. Okay, and we have a good enough community to make sure we don't miss that, right? So, and thank you for everybody who helps Susanna in that regard, right? But I don't understand how the way Hindutva. I mean, I think we as non-Hindus do a better job at bringing attention to the plight of Hindus in Bangladesh than Hindutva, because I don't understand how attacking Muslims in India, how exactly that's going to help Hindus in Bangladesh. Like, can somebody help me figure out what is this going to do for Hindus in Bangladesh? Like, you attacking Muslims in India, what exactly this is going to do for Hindus in Bangladesh? Can somebody explain this to me? Like, I mean, again, I want us to help Hindus in Bangladesh, but how is Hindutva, like, is this not going to do the exact opposite? Do you not think that the Hindutva is putting Hindus in Bangladesh at risk? Is Hindutva not anti-Hindu by doing these things? Like, doesn't this show to you that Hindutva has this political agenda to stir up hate, even if it comes at the expense of putting more Hindus at risk? So when you accuse us at being anti-Hindu because we're against Hindutva, we have to be like, no, Hindutva is anti-Hindu. We're anti-Hindutva partly because we care for Hindus in India. Okay? Hindutva is bad for all Indians, including the Hindus. So don't tell us that we're anti-Hindu or anti-India because we care for India. Okay? Hindutva itself is willing to sacrifice the Hindus in Bangladesh just to stir up more hate. They want, I can say this with almost certainty, okay? Hindutva wants Muslims in Bangladesh to attack the Hindus. They need the hatred. They need the conflict. This is what they are. This is what fuels their movement. And they attack Muslims in India hoping that this triggers more anti-Hindu attack in Bangladesh. They need this. Anyways, go on, Susanna.
Well, one thing that I also thought was interesting about this is, so since the violence from Durga Puja last month, I've been making an effort to learn more about Bangladesh, because we have a member of our team who works with me closely, and he's an ex-Hindu from Bangladesh. And he's like, Susanna, I basically, very nicely, he was like, I don't think you guys could be covering this the best way possible. And he explained to be more in depth about the issue. And it really inspired me to go learn more about the issue, because I just get so curious about stuff I was never taught about in school. Right. I've been watching coverage from different news outlets, and I was watching a panel on Al Jazeera talk about, their position was basically that this has more to do with nationalism in many ways, specifically the violence that happened in Bangladesh. And in the very detailed Al Jazeera coverage of the Tripura incident, they had a huge section where they also talk about how what seems like it's religious on the front or on the face of it actually might have more of a political and nationalist angle to it. So, for example, I believe in Tripura I know that it's currently a BJP-ruled state. For those who don't know, the BJP is the ruling party of India, and they also are a Hindu nationalist party. And so I believe that, it's currently in power in Tripura, and it was elected, I think, for the first time in the most recent elections, unseating like the communists who had been in the area for a really long time. And so part of the analysts of this article was talking about how the VHP are trying to just exert their power and influence in the area, and this is one of those means to do so that people they're trying to co-opt like all Hindu-ness into this Hindutva image, and so that they can gain power in the area where they are still building their political roots or their power, when they've just kind of been able to attain the level of power that they have now. Yes, okay, Mishra is confirming that I was correct. Yeah, it was ruled by communists until the previous elections, and that's when the BJP came to power. That's what's so interesting. When I've been watching coverage of this, many of the analysts will emphasize how it's actually just using religious collectivism to further their political agendas. And I've been thinking about something else recently that I think you might find interesting, Armin. So I'm a very self-reflective person. And personally, as more and more of our news coverage has been coming from the subcontinent, the Indian subcontinent, I've realized that I think I have a major hole in the way that I cover and talk about these stories. I think I have a blind spot. And my blind spot is that I don't understand collectivism. Because to me, I see a story like this, and it's basically incomprehensible for me to understand how Hindus are brutalized in Kumila, and across the border, you're just going to go brutalize like your Muslim neighbors. Like, it's a mindset that I so far have no ability to really grasp or understand. And so to illustrate this, I've realized that I need to make an effort to learn more about collectivism. So, for example, when I was earning my degree, I took a course on multicultural psychology, and we learn about these cultural markers. There's this famous psychologist called Hofstede, and he created these cultural scales. And you don't have to worry about the rest of this. I just want you guys to focus on this little section right here that says individualism. And this is really cool. You can actually pull any country. And the higher you score on this scale, the more individualistic of a country you are. So blue is Bangladesh, purple is India, and green is Pakistan.
Wait. Can you zoom in?
I can, but it's being really weird. When I zoom in, I can't scroll. It's super annoying. I don't know what's going wrong.
Okay,
but
zoom out then.
So obviously this is Eastern cultures in general, and I am making a generalization, are more collectivistic. Obviously Pakistan, out of these three, is the most collectivistic out of all of them. But by comparison, the United States is the most individualistic country in the world, like at 91. And I was like,
yeah,
I don't know. I just wanted to say that I think it's important for commentators or like content creators to talk about when they think they could improve on something. And I think this is something I can improve on. So right now I'm making an effort to learn more about a collectivist cultural orientation, because I think that would really improve the way I talk about these issues in the subcontinent. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, America, by the way, we're not, I'm not saying, obviously you're not suggesting this, obviously, but I just want people to understand. None of this is innate. The reason why United States is like that is because of the historical nature of it being a country founded upon rebellion, and founded on at least theoretically on individual liberties. Like it's not like there is anything about being a Pakistani that makes you not able to be more individual. Like it's just more of a historical the accidental historical background that makes certain people more collectivist and other people more individualistic, right? Like given certain conditions and a different history, it could have been Pakistani people that were more individualistic and Americans that were more collectivist. Like I just want people to be very mindful that we're not suggesting that any of these qualities are innate within anybody. Okay, so this is just history and background. Also, regarding being, a lot of atheists think more. Well, actually, now that might be changing. But when atheism wasn't more common, more atheists were individualists rather than collectivists, and this is why they. I'm going to bring back the news article. This is why they might not understand that a lot of religion and nationalism, it's not about belief, it's not about making logical sense, it's about a sense of belonging to a community. So this is why a lot of atheists fail, a lot of atheists that do not have any feelings towards collectivism or can't even comprehend how collectivism, how people's minds work under collectivism. It cannot understand how people could believe in this religion or this tribe or that ethnicity or this country. Like how are they judging somebody? Like they can't comprehend, like, why are you judging these group of people for something they did not do because they belong to this ethnicity or this country or that religion? Like, it makes no sense. But a lot of atheists fail to understand is that this is about being on one team against another team. It's not about making like Islam making logical sense. Like, a lot of Muslims are not Muslim because they think Islam makes logical sense. That's not how that's not the process they went through to stay Muslim or stay Christian or stay Hindu. It's like, these are my people. I belong to this team. I'm not going to go against Islam because I'm not going to abandon my people. I'm not going to leave this tribe. Okay. So if you try to, if that's your mindset, if you think about it from that perspective, it makes more sense for why you would see, like, oh, you hurt my people, I'm going to hurt your people, because it's not about individual versus individual. It's about a collective versus another collective. Right. So again, that's a very good way to make more sense of everything that is happening, Susanna. So that's very interesting that you're saying that. But I do also want to highlight the fact that I do want to emphasize about the situations that Hindus are facing in Bangladesh, right? Because I know we brought attention to Hindutva in India because that's what the news is about. But we shouldn't let the fact that Hindutva in India is not responding well to the situation of Hindus in Bangladesh, that shouldn't distract us from highlighting that Hindus in Bangladesh are under really threatening conditions, right? Like, do not, again, please don't take like a side on this, okay? This is not about being on the Hindu side or on the Muslim side, okay? This is a being on the side of the people who are vulnerable, okay? And that includes the Hindus in Bangladesh. It's really scary. Like, I feel afraid just imagining what it must be like to be a Hindu in Bangladesh. Like, the fact that people could, a mob of Muslims could just come for you, and there's very little you could do. The law is not on your side. I mean, it's it's so intimidating. There's not that many ways. I mean, the law is on the books is on your side, but technically, there's not much you can do about it. Like, if you get abused or attacked by some powerful Muslims or a mob of Muslims in Bangladesh, again, not all Muslims. I'm just talking about the situation about some Muslims in Bangladesh. Okay, the fact that that people can get away with just abusing like that or coming after your family, even if you yourself don't care about your situation, maybe you want to fight back, that it's not just you, it's your family. It's so hard. Like, and these are people not in economic conditions that can just move or go to a different place. You know what I mean? This is very scary. Okay, this is very scary. You could highlight how bad Hindutva is, but please make sure that you don't use the Hindutva's horrible policies and evil ways as an excuse to ignore the plight of Hindus under Muslim majority places. Okay, so there's that. Anyways,
So
I am
very, very well said, Armin.
no, thank you. Yeah. Oh wow, the next news is India related as well.
No, but I
Anything you
think
wanna?
anyone who has Hindutva sympathies would be very interested in our coverage of the story. So if that describes you, stay tuned. I think we might surprise you.
Right. I'm seeing based on the picture, I don't think I can clap for this. No.
No.
Oh wow. Okay. Next news.
Next news: Indian gym trainer shot by in-laws over interfaith marriage. On October 30th, a 26-year-old Hindu gym trainer, Deva Chand, was shot in the head in Model Town, a neighborhood in northwest Delhi. Chand was shot by his brother-in-law, Shah Nawaz, 21, and a friend of his, a friend of the brother-in-law, Hrithik. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that name. Both of whom are Muslims. Shah Nawaz confessed to the shooting and explained that he was, quote, upset and angry at his sister's marriage to someone of a different religion. Both suspects were charged with attempted murder. The couple has known each other since they were teenagers and were married this past July against their family's approval. The victim's family also insisted on proceeding with the charges, on pressing charges. Quote, I know he was upset, but I never expected this would happen, Deva's wife explained. She insisted that her brother should be punished for what he did. Quote, do what can be done. They mean nothing to me. I just want my husband to be okay. According to the most recent reports, Deva is still in critical condition and is undergoing treatment. So this was a big story that what happened in India this week. Horrible, tragic. I can get into some more details about how basically the details that have been released so far, it seems like they actually set up this guy to then go try to kill him in a way that was really deceptive. And it's really sad. So they, like I said, they've known each other since they were teenagers. They decided to get married earlier this summer. And originally, both families were firmly against them. But eventually, the wife's family actually, kind of got used to them and accepted them. Wait, no, sorry, the reverse. The husband's family was okay with it after some time and started to accept them. The wife's family, however, she basically had to cut them out for a period of time because they were threatening her. And the husband's family was receiving threats as well against them. And they were married in a temple. They moved out of town. They moved away from people, were just kind of like doing their own thing, trying to start their life as newlyweds. And then, like I said, the details that have been revealed so far makes it seem as if the wife's brother, her name has not been released at this point, basically reached out to them and was like, hey, I want to meet up with you. And it seemed like he met up with the couple, and then the husband got on the back of a bike with him and they rode off. And then some reports made it seem as if they basically, like, someone pulled up and tried to shoot him while they were on the bike together. What's interesting is that we cover a lot of the contention around interfaith marriages in India, especially recently, ever since the anti-love jihad law was passed. And what I found interesting was a lot of Indian news outlets will be very quick to say what the religions of the various people involved are. But when I was reading this from Indian news outlets, it stood out to me that they weren't saying what the religions of the people involved were, because usually when we cover these interfaith relationship issues, the reports will actually report it as such. And I would be lying if I said it didn't stand out to me that they didn't explicitly say that the assailant, the perpetrator, was a Muslim.
Why? Why is it when the other way around they mention it, but not now?
I mean, that's a good question. I think This is like speculation. I'm thinking it might be kind of
We're not,
similar
by the way,
to
guys,
how.
we're not suggesting anything. We're actually asking. Yeah, like we
Yeah.
don't. I mean, yeah. Okay, go on.
Well, I thought it was interesting because I've seen a lot of people make the criticism that of like left wing media bias when when media won't point out when a minority does a bad thing, right? So in a way, I kind of thought maybe this is a similar phenomenon to how news is racialized in America. For example, like if a white cop shoots a black guy, like that will be explicitly said in the headline, right? But if the races are reversed, it's not it's very rarely characterized with the races of the perpetrator and the victim like explicitly in the title.
Read this comment.
Ghost Bunny is saying this is extremely awful. It's 2021 and people are afraid of being in love with who they love because of religion. People should not be killed over this. Certainly not.
And this is what Mia's saying.
Indian news outlets are attempting to be politically correct like British ones. This is why Hindus are getting radicalized. Well, this is speculation, but I know how Hindu nationalists would use something like this to fit their narrative. They would say, look, they're always pointing out when we do something wrong, but when the minority does something to harm us, they're never going to actually name it as such. Like this, this is a feather in their cap, right?
Right. So let me just point out a few things. This is basically what was happening here is the opposite of what Hindutva would like to refer to as love jihad, right? So there's this conspiracy spread by Hindutva that Muslim men are marrying Hindu women as a way to demographically make India Muslim, and that's ridiculous. That's not happening, and that's not how it's going to work. You can't do that demographically. You can't change the and yeah, and what because of that, a lot of Hindutva go and attack Muslim men and Hindu women that have fallen in love with each other, and they attack their weddings, they abuse them, they kill them sometimes, right? They get the police to arrest them. In one province, at least, Uttar Pradesh, has become illegal. This is amazing. This is like 2021, and we're interfaith marriage apparently is now illegal in at least one province, is in the biggest province in India, right? With a giant population of like multiple countries. And now this is the opposite of it happening, right? So again, we mentioned that Hindutva doesn't have a problem with a Hindu man marrying a Muslim woman, because apparently a lot of Muslims and a lot of Hindus just think women are property. So it's not like when Hindu, there's no problem with a Hindu man marrying a Muslim woman, is because you basically took one of theirs. But there's a problem with the Muslim man marrying a Hindu woman, because if that happens, they're taking one of yours. Like as if like it's not the interfaith nature of it that they're against. It's the stealing part that they're against. You know what I mean? Like they don't have a problem with it being interfaith if the man side of this interfaith marriage or union is on your side. You know what I mean? So the problem with it is not that it interfaith, is like are you getting their woman, or are we losing our woman? That's how they think about this. It's amazing that this is god damn it. But what did I mean? Shouldn't, like, the fact that a Hindu man was attacked by a Muslim for a couple who are in the guys, like, people are falling in love and they want to be with each other. Just let them be with each other. Why is this like, how can you not consider yourself evil if you're against people, if you are trying to separate people who are in love with each other? Like, I don't understand how people cannot be reflective of
Can we get the meme again?
Like, to realize that I am the evil person in this scenario, if people are in love, like even in Indian movies, Indian and Urdu movies, it's like the evil, like you have like a young couple in love, and there's an evil character that is trying to separate them. Like even based on Indian culture, those are very famous Bollywood movies. So this is not like a foreign concept. Like look at Indian fiction. Like, oh, people are in love and some evil force is separating them. Well, you are the evil force in this story now. Anyways,
That
but
meme will
but
never not be
but
perfect.
yeah, exactly. But what I'm
Are we
trying
the
but I'm
baddies?
trying to understand. Okay, let me make this point. What I'm trying to understand is that wouldn't like what would a Hindutva commentary on this news be? Like the fact that a Hindu man was attacked. Maybe there one reason why Hindutva doesn't want to highlight the story. Oh, here's my conspiracy theory. Ready for this, Susie? Okay. So you're like, why is Hindutva not highlighting this? Because you would think that this fits the narrative as a way that we should. Oh, look, Muslim is attacking us. We should retaliate. I think this looks too much like what they do. And highlighting this might make them look like, ooh, this is what it looks like. This is what we're like. This is because Hindutva attacks a lot of Hindu men who fall in love, who are with Muslim. Hindutva attacks a lot of Muslim men who are with Hindu women. I think attacking this just brings too much of an attention of how much they do the same thing. Maybe that's why they're avoiding it. I don't think that's likely, but I'm just wondering that could be the conspiracy. Like it's like a mirror.
I think the conspiracy is what I said, which is going to be, look at this leftist, politically correct media covering for the evil deeds, blah, blah, blah. They're in bed with them. They're sympathizing. They refuse to point out the danger in our midst. Like, I think that would be it.
No, but again, if they do that, if they're saying, like, if Hindutva comes out and says like, oh, like Hindu men attacked, then so are you endorsing? Are you okay with Hindu men? So so are you telling me that a Hindu man being in love with a Muslim woman is a-okay and nobody should be abusing the Hindu man? Well, we agree, right? We agree. So are you gonna abide by that same standard when a Muslim man falls in love with a Hindu woman? Maybe that's why. I don't know. Maybe that's why they might want to hide this under the rug. I don't know. What do people think in the live chat? Anybody? Do you want to highlight anything?
No. We should move to the next news.
Okay. Okay. We should have more Indian news. I'm glad that you picked more Indian news related news this week. I think we should always have like, at least 4 India or Pakistan related news, because that's a lot of the planet. Like China, India, Pakistan. Like China, India, and Pakistan. We're almost like half the planet, right? I know I'm exaggerating a little bit here. Maybe 1/3 of the planet. Okay, so I think like, given that how big of a percentage of the population of the planet that is, it makes sense for us to highlight it even more. Anyways, can I clap for the next news?
Let's not. It's not as bad, but next news. Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn fires teacher for being gay. On October 13th, the Diocese of Brooklyn fired LaBanca for... Sorry, let me start over. I can't talk today. I'm sorry, you guys. I don't know what's going on.
It's October okay. 13th, okay, wait, Susie. You don't need to screw anybody who doesn't like it. Okay, just correct it. You don't need to apologize. You're fine. Okay, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Stop interrupting me. I need to do this. On October 13th, the Diocese of Brooklyn fired Matthew LaBanca from his position as the music director of the Corpus Christi Church Parish in Queens, New York, where he had worked for 16 years. LaBanca is a lifelong Catholic, and he had recently married his partner on August 1st. After his wedding, Labanca learned that a group of church leaders were discussing ways to qualify his roles as a minister within the church, even though his roles did not involve religious education or preaching. And you'll figure out why soon. Matthew was ostensibly fired because, quote, he did not comply with church teachings, a requirement for being a minister. Federal and New York state laws prohibit employers from discriminating on the basis of sexual orientation. However, religious institutions are allowed various exemptions to the law, specifically in regards to who is allowed to be a minister. A $20,000 severance package was offered to Labanca in exchange for signing a confidentiality agreement that would prohibit him from publicly addressing his dismissal. However, Labanca denied the offer and instead chose to publicize his termination in hopes of raising awareness about these legal loopholes that allow discrimination to continue in the name of faith.
All right, I want to first address anybody who wants to write, but if he's gay, why does he want to be a minister? Doesn't he know Christianity is on the blah, 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 blah. I want more gay people to become challenging this, okay? In fact, even if you're not, be a secret atheist and go try to become minister, like these loopholes should not exist, okay? These loopholes, we shouldn't have separate laws just because you happen to be a religious institution. This goes against the separation of church and state. The fact that everybody has to abide by some rules, and we have certain institutions that don't have different set of laws just because they're religious, that violates the separation of church and state, okay? So no, do not advocate for people who are gay to just abandon these churches. I want them to go try to get the highest positions possible, just so that we have a way to challenge these separate standards that we have for religious institutions, okay? If you're gay or lesbian or trans, try to get a job if you can. I mean, in religious institutions, okay? And then if they tell you that your way of life or your existence does not abide by their values, yeah, it's not your way of life, your entire identity, your nature, your innate characteristics does not contradicts their values. You're doing humanity a service by challenging that. By challenging that legally and setting a precedent for all the other people that come after you. You're making life less miserable for everybody that comes after you. So go ahead, do not quit these churches, do not become ministers, go for the highest positions possible, and then challenge them when they don't let you because of the way you are. Anyway, Susanna, you want to say something?
Well, I wanted to clarify and talk about kind of the point that's at the center of this case. So I wanted to cover this also because the New York Times ran this story, which is quite significant. So here's from the New York Times, quote, "It is illegal for employers to discriminate on the basis of sexual orientation under federal, state, and New York City laws, but religious institutions are allowed to favor members of their faith in employment settings like schools and houses of worship. That loophole does not permit them to discriminate on the basis of traits like sex or sexual orientation unless the job in question is a ministerial position. That provides the legal basis by which the Catholic Church can refuse to employ women as priests. But in recent years, it has become increasingly used to fire people in same-sex civil marriages from jobs that have not been traditionally seen as part of the clergy." In a statement concerning the decision, the diocese referred to Mr. Labanca as a music teacher and minister, and explicitly said he was fired because his marriage violates the requirement that ministers comply with church teachings. And he was like, I was never a minister. So that's why I said earlier, when the diocese learned about his marriage, he heard rumblings that they were trying to figure out ways to characterize him as a minister, because if he's characterized as a minister, he can be fired from his job. But he's like, I was a music director. Like I was I was not involved with church teachings. I was involved with a secular or a non-religious subject matter, right? And there's been previous court cases that show that if it's, unless it's related to actual religious teachings, you are not allowed to discriminate against people on the base on protected characteristics, right? Because they're not actually trying to imbue the faith that may have discriminatory beliefs, right? So it's I think that's so slimy to try to like sneak this in, to try to say like, oh yeah, he's a minister now, blah blah blah. And I want to pull up a statement on Mr. Labanca's firing. The diocese provided an excerpt from its employment contract for teachers, which says, quote, the teacher is essential to the ministry of conveying the faith and acknowledges that he or she is a minister of the Roman Catholic faith. Mr. Labanca said that the church's description of his role was extremely subjective and not minister with a capital M, and that he signed no such contract for his job at the parish. I would say that that's a strong label for what I do. I never labeled myself as a minister. I was never called a minister. So, and in general, there are very vague government rules over who can actually have this qualification. So, quote, the justification for the firing of Mr. Labanca and other Catholic school teachers like him is still subject to legal debate. Expert said, quote, there is no government rules around who can be deemed a minister, so it's really, really broad exemption, said Sharita Grunberg, the vice president of the LGBTQ research at the Center for American Progress, a liberal think tank. The courts are going to have to come to an answer. Is this individual a minister or not? So it just drives me crazy to think that there are people who are working at these schools for decades, and then as soon as the church catches on that they're gay, they will fire them and saying, oh, you minister to children as a verb. Therefore, you're a minister as a role, and we can fire you. It's crazy.
How homophobic can these people be? How homophobic? I mean, even based on their own doctrine, shouldn't you want what you call sinners to be at your church? Like, where else would you rather them be? Like, like, do you want to be at a church for only the people who don't need it? Like, I don't understand. Isn't the whole point of church saving people? Like, oh, you need saving, get out. It doesn't even. Oh God, these people. Did you want to highlight anything else? Because there's a comment that is a little bit by D that is not relevant to the story, but I do want to address it.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So D is saying, wait, Armin, you say no to Islam reform, but yes to Catholic reform. Why not more and more leave until obscurity? Okay, I am not for Catholic reform. I don't know when you got to that idea from. I am for equality under the law. Okay, that's what I'm for. This is about activism when it comes to making the law more secular. This is not about making the Catholic or any other Christian doctrine better, because they are incapable of becoming better. They are dogmatic, superstitious beliefs. This is not reforming. Just because people are have disagree with me on on their religious teachings, or the fact that they believe in superstition, that doesn't mean I can't support them in fighting their legal battles when it comes to fighting against discrimination. Let me give you an example for why I can support religious people in their fight for secularism, while at the same time not being for reform. These are two separate things, right? So, for example, I am against reforming Islam. I think Islam or Christianity or Judaism or anything else like that, it shouldn't be. It's not that they can't be reformed. It shouldn't be reformed. Religion should be abandoned, not reformed. Okay, but in Islam, for example, I am for making a law that makes halal meat illegal. Right? Halal meat should be illegal because it's abusing animals. Right? Making halal meat illegal doesn't mean that you reformed Islam. Their Islamic teaching is still the same thing, Okay, but we made it so that you cannot practice an Islamic value that is harmful because you're living in a civilized society and you're abiding by laws that we consider to be superior to Islamic teachings. If we force you to abide by laws that is treating everybody equally and not giving privileges to religious people, that is not a reform of religion. That is making religion take a back seat. That is basically making religion submit to superior secular laws. Okay, religion itself hasn't been reformed. Religion, the only activism we do when it comes to religion itself is try to make more people abandon it. But just because we're anti-religion, that doesn't mean we can have a separate activism. So that one activism is that we try to be active against religion, but another activism separate from that is that we push for secularism. And in our push for secularism, we have no problem in uniting with religious people. Like if we have religious people that are for secularism, even though we ourselves acknowledge that their agreement with secularism is contradicting their religious belief, but we don't have to hold that against them. As long as they are for secularism, we are completely fine in working with them and pushing for secularism. Does that make sense, Susanna? What I said?
Completely.
Oh, I love it. I only ask you that because I love it when you when you say that. Yeah, good. Okay, cool. Okay, can we clap for the next news?
You just got a little choppy, by the way.
Oh, am I back? Am I
Yes,
good?
you were 8-bit Armin for a second.
Okay. Can I clap for the next news?
Yes.
Next news.
Next news. New study reveals most Americans support separation of church and state. Yay! A survey conducted by the Pew Research Center in March 2021 showed that most adult Americans support the separation of church and state. 69% of the respondents agreed that the federal government should never declare any state religion. At the same time, 67% agreed that the US Constitution was written by humans and reflected their vision, not God's. Not necessarily God's vision. The study demonstrates that 58% of Republicans agreed that the federal government should not favor a state religion. 80% of Democrats agreed with the same statement. On the other hand, 26% of Republicans and 6% of Democrats prefer having a state religion. The March 2021 study also recognized white evangelical Christians to be the most supportive of the integration of church and state. So I think that probably isn't surprising to see that demonstrated that it's the white evangelical Christians that are the most supportive of, helping to remove the influence of religion in civic society. But there we go. There's a lot I could talk about this news, but Armin, do you have any first impressions?
Are there not a lot of religious people who say that, oh yeah, we love religion and we want separation of church and state because that will corrupt religion if it becomes like I don't know if how common of an argument this is. Like the separation of church and state is, some religious people try to sell that as a way to say that's a way to protect the church. It's not to limit. I don't know. You haven't heard of that argument line of reasoning by some religious people?
No.
Like it's not just to they say the separation of the wall between church and state is not just to protect the state from the church, but it's also to protect the church from the state. And I don't know, like some people, I heard some religious people try to use that line of reasoning as a way to sell this, but I don't know how common it is in the US. So given that you haven't heard of it, I guess not common. That
much. Yeah. There was lots of interesting characteristics or statistics that came out of this. So here we can see an image from Pew. And wait. How is this good news? America didn't support. Didn't America support it before this? Well, yes, but these are just like the latest statistics. So part of the study was what?
He's like, I thought you guys were already better than this. What? He's like, I thought you were already over this.
I mean,
Anyways, go ahead.
obviously not if we remember January 6th. So part of the way that this study was done was they characterized the different groups of people into broad categories like church-state separationist, church-state integrationists, and then people who had a mixed opinion or no opinion, right? So, and then even within that, they had a range of how strong your position was. So, what I thought was really interesting was that 96% of atheists and agnostics support church and state separation. We are the largest group that are firm secularists. Because like I said, even beyond saying, oh, okay, just the broad category of if you're a separationist or an integrationist, then within the separationist category, they have strong, moderate, or mixed categories, right? Well, out of the atheists, they are the largest portion of strong secularists. 77% of them being strong secularists.
What the? Okay. Is there a percentage of atheists who do not agree with secularism? What percentage of atheists?
There is 2% of atheists are mixed, like a mixed opinion.
How?
1%
Wait.
actually are integrationists, and 1% have no opinion, or less than 1%.
Okay, I want to meet the 1%. I want to meet the 1% of atheists and agnostics who are in favor of church-state integration. I want to know what kind of people these are. And I want to ask them why. I want to know these people. I want to be like, what's wrong with you? How is that possible? Somebody explain to me. Somebody explain to me this 1% of atheists and agnostics.
Oh, I'll explain it right now.
Tell me.
They're like they're probably like those weird
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Right-wing conservative types who are like, well, I'm smart enough to not believe in God, but I think that Christianity has really good values that help structure society and
Right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're
it's that
so
kind of person.
correct.
It has to be.
Yeah, it has to be.
like
You're
a
so
Sargon,
yeah.
a Sargon type.
Yes,
like
exactly.
that's his position. Or
I am wise enough to know that these are all nonsense.
I'm smart enough to not believe in God, but I'm also smart enough to understand the peak utility of religion that carries through to today and we must maintain into the future. Like
right.
I understand.
Now we have
I'm not gonna.
Oh yeah, it's actually we see them in the live chat here as well. The people like, yeah, religion is stupid, but without religion, we get wokey people. That's what they say.
Yeah.
We get Pakistanis. Like, so we need religion because people need something to believe in, or else they're gonna go full on Marxist or something. Like that's what
I would rather people be a materialist any day of the week, personally.
What material? No, I mean the comeback to that is not that Marxism is fine or wokeism
I'm
is
not
good.
saying that.
The comeback. I know you're not, but I just want to say that
you don't have to be Marxist if you're a materialist.
But what I'm saying, I'm not talking about what you said. I'm just saying that the comeback to that is that they are a fringe group. Okay, stop exaggerating. Most atheists are not woke or Marxist, so don't be like, we need religion because, oh my god, look at wokeism is taking over. It's not taking over. Okay, we're fine. Atheism is objectively better. Look at Scandinavian country. They're, so anyways, but yeah, go on. Do you want to highlight anything else?
Oh no. Well, the other big finding from the report was that a surprising percentage of non-white groups actually did support integration. So Hispanic Protestants were the largest, or the group that had the largest support for church-state integration after white evangelicals. So, you know, as I said in the beginning, like, it is like a caricature of white evangelicism in the United States at this point, to like Christian nationalism, right? That's a thing. And we think of that as a very white phenomenon. And in many ways it is. But there is still a surprising amount of support in ethnic minority groups as well. And I thought that was really interesting to think about. I hadn't expected that.
You know, the fact that different races of people have different opinions collectively in the United States shows that systemic racism is a thing. You know what I mean? Like you can't have the same experience, like, and have, so, you know, the fact that you can predict people's opinions based on their ethnicity means that different people are having different experiences in the United States based on their ethnicity. And that's the very definition of systemic racism, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. Of course it's interesting. I said it.
That was all I had to say on that news. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we move to the next story?
No, let's go on to the next story.
We can clap for this story because it's just really irreverent and hilarious.
That's great. We need that. All right, next news.
Coffee shop on church grounds deemed blasphemy. So this is just a funny little story. On October 21st, in an episode of the radio show Liveline, oh, this happens in Ireland, by the way, an upset caller complained about a blasphemous mobile coffee shop that was set up on local church grounds. According to the show, the coffee shop trailer was set up inside the railings of the St. Peter's Church in Phibsborough, Ireland. The show's host, Joe Duffy, also read an email addressed to the St. Peter's Church from an upset parishioner. The scriptures are clear in this matter, the email stated, adding, "Do not turn my father's home into a marketplace." It's a biblical reference. Another upset caller agreed, saying it's sacrilege to the typical Catholic, adding that you don't have to be a theologian to know it. Quote, "It is pure blasphemy. It's as simple as that." Meanwhile, the owner of the coffee shop responded, adding that the parish invited him and that, in fact, his shop helps finance the church's maintenance. Apparently, he's also a lifelong Catholic.
Okay, explain what's the issue, because I thought this is an anti-coffee thing. This is an anti-selling thing. I thought this was going to be a Mormon church somewhere in the United States because they're anti-coffee. Catholics are not against coffee.
No.
Okay.
So first of all, I love the picture that we chose for this news story. Like,
yeah, good.
Jesus drinking a cup of coffee. It's so good. So, do you remember the story in the Bible where I can't remember exactly but Jesus goes to the temple and he sees that the temple has been set up as a marketplace, and there's people gambling and there's people selling their wares, and they just turned it into a shopping mall, and he gets outraged. And it's one of the few times where you see Jesus lose his shit in the Bible, and he starts throwing people's stuff around, and he starts turning people over. I think he almost gets arrested because he's so outraged.
One of the few times he's
desecrated. They've desecrated the sanctity of his father, of Yahweh's home, by just turning it into a shopping mall. This is a place for reverence. This is the home of your creator. You can't just do this. So they're saying that they're doing that. You're turning it into a marketplace.
All right, guys. Jesus acts like a madman in the New Testament. Okay, anybody who says like, "Oh, the Old Testament is violent," but Jesus is kind of like a hippy-dippy, nice, lovey-dovey kind of guy in the New Testament, they have not read the goddamn Bible. He starts chasing after people are just sitting around and selling stuff, and he whips them. He turns their table and he whips people. Like this man should be arrested. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? Okay, So there's that. He curses it, like one of the few times where he acts insane. Excuse me, Jesus curses a tree, a goddamn tree, because it didn't have the fruits that he wanted, even though it wasn't the season for it. The tree got cursed forever because it didn't have the fruits that Jesus wanted. This guy is insane. This guy is insane. This is the same guy that tells that you have to tear your eye out. If you look at a woman and get horny, you should gouge your eyes out and throw it away. That's what this guy teaches. What is this like? This is the guy that says that I'm here to bring conflict, by this bring sword and fight. He specifically says that I'm not here to bring peace. Okay, like how is Jesus known for a bringer of a peace, of the peaceful religion, when he specifically spells it out in the Bible, says, I'm not here to bring peace, I'm here to bring the sword. That's what he says. He says, I'm here to turn a daughter against a mother, a son against a father. That's what he says. And then in the book of Revelation, he has a sword coming out of his goddamn mouth. All right, and he burns people like what it can't get more insanely violent than Jesus. What are you talking about? How did can people tell me that how did Jesus got a reputation for being peaceful and hippy dippy like a? I don't understand. I don't understand how he might. Do people not read their Bible? Isn't insane.
Okay.
Let alone the fact that he. In Christianity, you learn that Jesus and Yahweh are the same goddamn thing. So all the crap he did in the Old Testament was Jesus. All right, let's go on.
Well, it makes me laugh so hard because every time you talk about Jesus cursing that tree, you start yelling like that. Every time you're like, it wasn't even the season, but he cursed the tree.
And also he's racist.
It's so funny.
And he's racist. You know the story, the parable of the Good Samaritan?
Yeah.
Everybody thinks that, oh, so lovely, such a nice story. That's the story of Jesus being racist. That's the story of Jesus saying, look, even Samaritans, even the dirty Samaritans are capable of doing a good thing. That's what Jesus was saying. Like, you can expect good things from the most unusual of places. And by the most unusual of places, I'm speaking of a Samaritan. Can you imagine a Samaritan doing a good thing? I mean, obviously not. This is a parable. It can't happen in real life. But the point of the parable is that you should expect that even Samaritans could even, it's more. So he's a racist as well. Anyways. Well, okay, here's not going back to the story. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
I just had it just got locked in that.
When we say on church grounds, to go back to the story, does the church actually own that ground, or is this just near the church?
It made it seem as if there's like it's on church grounds. It's like it's fenced off. Like there's a fence around the church and it's within that. That's what it sounded like.
So why can't they just say like get off our like property? Like, do they not have to? If he's already there, didn't have to get permission to be able to make something on church property? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, in fact, he pays some of his profits to the church. Like he's basically offsetting the cost of the church's maintenance. Because
so they had an
people
agreement.
aren't going to church. They're not getting donations. Churches everywhere are renting out their spaces because they have to find a way to make an income. The church is already turning into a marketplace. There are churches in America turning into B&Bs.
Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Can you make me understand? He signed an agreement with the church to come and build a coffee shop on their church ground and share profit with them, and they signed everything, and everything was fine. And now they're calling him blasphemous.
It's not the church; it's some random parishioners. It's like a little mobile trailer that he came up, parked, set up a little coffee thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually benefiting the church. And there, to be fair,
yeah.
there were lots of Catholics who also called in and said, like, I like it encourages community and fellowship. What's more Catholic than that?
I mean, how are they supposed to like get their coffee then? They're supposed to get coffee for free? I mean, I don't understand. But doesn't the church sell stuff? Doesn't the church like I went to Catholic churches, they sell you stuff. They sell you
Yes.
crosses, they sell you Mother Mary necklaces, they sell you these coins, memorialia coin. So if they're against, like, I mean, every Catholic church I've been to, actually, now that I remember, every single Catholic church I've been to, they sell you Jesus-y stuff. They sell you Jesus-y stuff. I mean, the ones I have been to. So how is this like, oh, you can't sell coffee on church ground? Well, what about the church-owned merchandise? Wait, go on.
So you've probably seen that at every Catholic church because you're like a tourist going to the most famous Catholic churches. Like, that's not the case in most Catholic churches. Let me just be clear.
Oh, okay.
But in the famous Catholic churches where it is a destination or where people actually take pilgrimages to, yes, they sell little souvenirs. And in fact, the host of the show tried to use that as a rebuttal against one of these callers who was like, this is blasphemy. So he was like saying that the Vatican and other churches, like the Vatican itself, has shops on its premises. And the caller responded, those are holy, those are sacrosanct, like those are fine. Like,
okay,
totally,
well, then
like,
sell holy coffee.
They sell souvenirs. What are you talking about? She's like, no.
No.
Does not compute.
No. Does not compute. Okay, so if you can sell holy stuff, just use holy water to make coffee. You've been a barista before. Can you, Susanna? Is that possible? Can you just sell coffee with holy water? And we're like, well, I'm selling holy coffee.
Well,
so that
holy
should be fine
water
as well.
is cold.
Well, you
That'd
can
be so
heat it
gross.
up.
Yeah.
Wait, does the holiness evaporate if you boil it? Holy water?
I don't know.
Okay. I mean, I know it's cold.
This is a good question.
Water can be boiled. Just make coffee with holy water. That could be an interesting concept. I mean, actually, that's
10 times more blasphemous.
I mean, I was gonna say that it might be a health hazard, given that holy water is filled with, actually, yeah, I filled with diseases, but it should be fine if you boil it. I don't know. It's poop water.
They probably put
holy
chemicals
water
in it. I would imagine they put chemicals in it to purify. I don't know.
Holy water is filled with feces. That's what studies show.
What are you talking about?
Like, yeah, they found human feces in a lot of holy water at Catholic Church. You didn't see that study? Like, people don't wash their hands.
In a baptismal font?
Yeah, in that whole thing. Yeah, when people go touch and then to do the thing, you're spreading poop on your body.
Oh, so you're just talking about the little fountain at the beginning. Okay. Because there's a difference between a full baptismal.
I don't know.
There's a word for it. Versus, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, that kind of makes sense.
Don't touch that, guy. If you touch it, make sure you don't. If you touch holy water in a Catholic church, make sure you go wash your hand after. And don't do that. Like, if you touch that and then do the whole Trinity. What is this called? The thing.
The sign of the cross.
You guys. Yeah, the sign of the cross. Then you're getting poop on your face. Make sure you don't touch your eye.
What some people do, it's even worse. So they make a little cross with their fingers, and then they go on their forehead. They go on their mouth, and then they go on their chest. So sometimes it's even getting on people's mouths.
Yeah, poop on your mouth now when you do that.
Wait, I just want to end this segment with, shoot, this is a comment from D. Man, F that tree.
Do people know the story, right?
I hope so.
Oh, yeah, but Jesus also made a whole bunch of pigs commit mass suicide. Do you know that? Yeah.
You yelling about how Jesus is an asshole is one of the funniest things to me because you get so heated about it.
Ghostman is saying that sounds like a shitty situation or me. Literally, yes. Thank you for telling us. Anyways, can we clap for the next news?
Yes.
Next news.
Next news. Afghanistan's actual last Jew flees the country. Zambulon Samatov was internationally known for years as the only remaining Jewish person in Afghanistan. After refusing to leave the country for decades, he was forced to leave in late September. The Associated Press reported that Samatov's famed claim as the last Jew in Afghanistan might not have been what it seemed. 83-year-old Tova Moradi, Samatov's distant cousin, was technically the last Jew in Afghanistan. The Associated Press reported that Moradi left Afghanistan in the third week of October, weeks after Samatov's departure. Moradi has an interesting background. She was married to a Muslim at the age of 16 after running away from her family, but never converted, and continued to observe Jewish practice. Isra Aid, a non-governmental humanitarian organization based in Israel, helped Moradi and her descendants escape from Afghanistan. So we can talk about the stories, and then I also have other updates on Samatov, who, if you remember, we had a huge laugh last time we talked about him, because he's quite the character.
So people who don't know, we thought the last Jew in Afghanistan was Samatov, and he left, right? But now we realize, no, there was another person that was actually the last Jew. Who's this? Who is this again?
Basically a distant cousin of that first guy. She's 83 years old, and she became distant from her family because when, like I said, it sounds like she needed to run away from her family. It's not exactly clear what was happening there, but to run away from her family, she ended up marrying this Muslim guy, and she went away, and then she lost contact with her family for basically 60 years. So it makes sense that he was claiming that he was the last Jew, because she was basically like she wasn't heard of. She kind of disappeared. Like, she became very disconnected from the Jewish community. But she still observed Jewish practice, and it was known in her community that she was a Jew.
Okay, is Samatov upset that he wasn't the last Jew? Because I think he really liked that title.
I think he did.
By the way, her name is her name is Tova, by the way. Tova.
That's her first name, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very pretty name, by the way. I thought this has more to do with sexism. I didn't, but you're saying it has to do with her being in hiding or something like that, right? Because I thought how characteristic of, Judaism and religion as a whole to consider the last Jew to be a man, because obviously, like, this other person is a woman, so you can't count her, obviously. But I thought it was that was the situation. But what?
It seemed, my reading and understanding of it is that she was just so separated from everyone else that it seemed like they kind of forgot about her until recently. But there was a huge effort to get her and her family out of the country. Like, it sounds very exciting. Like, the Israeli government was involved. There were billionaires involved helping to finance the whole thing. Like, it took weeks and months to execute. Like, everything was undercover. Like, it would make such a good movie. But Samatov, if you guys want to learn more about this guy,
actually, Ayan is asking what happened to that guy who was a headache to Taliban. So Samatov, the guy that we thought that was the last Jew, he was arrested by the Taliban, not for being a Jew or anything, but because he was fighting another Jew over a synagogue in Afghanistan, and they were both put to jail by the Taliban, and they continued their fight in jail, so much so that the Taliban was so annoyed with them fighting all the time that the Taliban had to let them both go because they couldn't take it anymore.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
We covered this before. You guys should go. Guys should go.
If you guys want to learn the full story about this guy and why it's so hilarious, go look for our video called "The Last Jew in Afghanistan Refuses to Give His Wife a Divorce" or something like that, because that was another angle to the story. So Zambulan Simatov, like I said, he was famous and he would give interviews often as the last Jew in Afghanistan. And he was the last person who was the warden, custodian, taking care of the synagogue in Kabul, I believe. Eventually, and he said that he was not going to leave. He was very firm in it. He lived under Taliban rule before, and somehow he was convinced that finally he was forced to flee. Now, when I was reading it originally, this flavor didn't pick up, but when I was reading it now, it previously was characterized as like he's just stubborn or he loves his country so much he doesn't want to leave. And then other newspapers are reporting more recently that he didn't want to leave because of the issue surrounding his divorce. So his wife and children fled to Israel in the 1990s, and he's refused to divorce his wife ever since. And it kind of seemed like they helped him escape with the expectation that he would finally divorce his wife. In Jewish law, it's called a get. He has to grant her a divorce, or she becomes an agunat, which means a chained woman, which she's chained to him through the semblance of their religious marriage because he refuses to grant her this. And that's actually observed in Israel. So he's
and Afghanistan, they recognize like your Jewish practice. The Taliban accepts your Jewish practices as a dhimmi, so which is Islam. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So I was reading reports recently that after he escaped the country, you know, they also had a very exciting way that they evacuated him from there. They showed photos of him in the presence of two rabbis via Zoom, granting the divorce and signing papers.
Wow.
And the whole issue of, oh, you don't technically have a rabbi present because it's virtual, like theoretically may cause an issue of it being deemed valid in Israel. But there are other precedents where they're like, no, they'll likely just grant the divorce. So
basically, you're telling me that the negotiation was like, we will help you escape Afghanistan if you let your wife free? Was basically what's happening? Something like that?
That might just be my characterization of it, but that's kind of what it sounded like.
That sounded like this whole thing should be a movie.
Maybe I'm misrepresenting it because the way that I think it was the Times of Israel was talking about it, they were saying like he was hesitant to leave the country because he had this divorce situation hanging over his head or something. Right. And so to help that, they're like, okay, we'll help you with your divorce, something like that. But the divorce was in some way involved as in his escape.
Wait, where is he now? Where did he go? You go to Israel?
I think he's in Israel. Tova right now. She's right now in Albania in a temporary settlement for Afghan refugees.
Take her to Israel as well.
Tova I think they're going
to go to. Okay, good. I think they should be celebrated.
She's either going to Israel or maybe Canada.
I think they should go. Exactly. I think people should interview them. I want them to write their books or whatever.
Yes.
I think this should be They should turn into a movie. Also, what's going to happen to the synagogue now? Because the whole discussion over who's going to take care of it. Because at some point there was only 2 Jewish men left in Afghanistan, and they were fighting over who gets the synagogue. Now that they have all left, and as far as we know, unless there's a secret Jew in Afghanistan, but guys, hey YouTube, this is not about a conspiracy. We're literally talking about. Okay, never mind. We're talking about hidden, not secret, hidden people who are Jewish and in hiding in Afghanistan. There's no more. We can officially say that there's 0 Jewish people in Afghanistan. 0 Jewish people in Afghanistan ever since Tova left. So, what's going to happen to the synagogue? Who's going to take care of the synagogue?
I don't know. The bad thing was when Simatov and the other, so before Simatov was supposedly the last Jew in Afghanistan, he was competing with this other guy who was older than him over being like the last 2 Jews in Afghanistan, supposedly. And they would fight with each other. And like I said, if you want to know the full story about their adventures with the Taliban, which is crazy, but the sad thing was because of their fallout with each other and then the Taliban getting involved, this ancient Torah that was in their possession at the synagogue disappeared, and it's never been found since because it was seized.
You know, it's amazing that you see yourself as the last two Jewish people in a country, and instead of working with each other, you're fighting with each other. I mean, come on. There's no more other Jewish people left, and you're still fighting with each other. Like this is an opportunity to, anyways. I also think Taliban is upset. I would guess Taliban is upset about these Jewish people leaving. I would think that Taliban wants to show, like, a lot of people might think like, oh, they're gonna just ruin the synagogue because it's not Islamic. No, because the Buddha statue that they blew up, that is like not Ahlul Kitab. That's like literally an idol, right? That is something that if you want to be truly Islamic, you're supposed to blow up, right? A synagogue, Islamically, you technically have to protect. Like when it comes to the rules for Jewish and Christians, what they can't do is that they can't build churches or synagogues that are higher than a mosque. And then you can't build new mosques or churches. You could only maintain the churches and mosques that you have. And any constructions you do could only go towards maintenance and not towards expansion. And you can't advertise Christianity and Judaism. You're not allowed to do that. But other than those, technically, Islamic rulers are supposed to protect the Christians and the Jews and their churches and the synagogue. And and you can't have any crosses or anything that on any churches as well, right? So I think like Taliban would have loved to have the opportunity to show that, oh yeah, we have Jewish people here, like just like the Islamic Republic of Iran that wants to be anti-Semitic, but at the same time have Jewish people that that claims to be treating well. Like I do think Taliban would have loved to be able to use a small Jewish community in Afghanistan as a PR stunt to be like, look, Jewish people are love it here. This is the true face of Islam or something like that. I think, yeah, but go on, Susanna.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, I think there's a possibility that, and this is pure speculation, that maybe it was not the Taliban that was the primary motivating factor behind his escape. For example, with the Taliban, we have seen that they have been failing to protect the Shia minority.
Shias they hate.
But still, they have said that they are going to protect like these people, and they've been failing to do so against ISIS-K. Right. So maybe the threat was more ISIS-K than it was the Taliban.
No, but ISIS-K would be more anti-Shia than Jewish anyways. Like ISIS-K would not have been that motivated to go after two Jewish people, because even ISIS-K thinks that, Jewish people should be able to live as dhimmis under an Islamic caliphate. But ISIS-K thinks like Shias are the worst, way worse than, they think Jewish people and Christian people should be protected as a dhimmi under Islamic caliphate, but not the Shias. Shias are the people that they consider to be destroying Islam from within. They see them as a greater threat than anything non-Islamic, right? So yeah, I would be more afraid of ISIS-K as a Shia than I would be as a Jew. That's one thing. And the second thing, Taliban itself has always been anti-Shia until recently, only because now they have to become internationally recognized. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to protect the Shias. And guess what? Some of their own members are like, we're going to do what now? like the whole idea of some of the Taliban, especially the Kandahari Talibanis, are coming out and saying we're going to abide by international laws, and oh yeah, we love the Shias, we're going to protect them. Their own Talibani members are like, hey, I didn't sign up for protecting Shias. Like, this is not what I thought we're going to be doing once we get power. I thought we're going to be eliminating Shias. Like, this is why the ISIS-K people are finding it easier a bit to recruit people from Taliban, because a lot of people from Taliban are are considering the Taliban to become now heretics. They consider them to be infidels especially for negotiating with the United States, and because protecting Shias. Like if the Taliban was protecting Jewish people, I don't think a lot of Taliban members would have an issue with that. But the fact that they're now cozying up with Shias, that is a red line for a lot of them that they cannot accept. Anyways, anything you want to add or highlight in the live chat?
No, I think that's everything I wanted to say about this story. Except that I really hope Simatov gets a movie made about him, because he just seems like such a character.
Yeah. Again, Simatov, his story should become the movie, and the movie's title should be The Last Jew in Afghanistan. Like, how could that not be the title of the movie? The Last Jew in Afghanistan. And it should
and
be
then the
about
plot
Simatov.
twist is at the end. His title gets taken away from him.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, exactly. We should highlight her. What's her name again? I forgot.
Tova Moradi.
Tova Morad. Like, it should be the like, you're not even the last Jew. Yeah. Anyways,
A door bursts open and she's like, "It's me."
Yeah, and actually, this is easy money for Hollywood, because there's no special effects. There's no, there's not that much war. This is going to be a background to a war.
What are you talking about? He lived under the Soviets.
I know, but that could be the background scenery of it would be like a 2-minute war scene, or like a 30-second war scene. It's not going to be the highlight of the movie, is not the war, right? So budget wise, it's a very interesting story that should not be very expensive to make. So the return on investment for this should be astronomical. It should become a movie. All right, anyways, can we clap for the next news?
You know we can.
Next news.
Fundraising success against Hindutva. Yay! So,
yes.
I wanted to take this moment to celebrate the fact that we were so successful with this fundraiser. In fact, we have surpassed our fundraising goal for our legal expenses. So, this is very exciting, you guys. Huge thank you to everyone who contributed. Absolutely blew my mind the amount of support we received and how quickly we received it from our community. It definitely means a lot to everyone on the Atheist Republic team. And like I said, we even surpassed our fundraising goal, which was originally $1,500. And this is super helpful because, like we talked about last week, the High Court in Delhi has actually told Twitter that they want Twitter to remove our tweets, and that there's going to be another hearing about this on November 30th. And so that's more work for our lawyers. And so we're going to have more legal expenses. And in fact, I'm going to be meeting with them tomorrow morning to discuss this most recent event. Why are my words failing me?
Incident.
Thank you. And talk about what we can, what our approach is going to be and all this stuff. So our legal funds are likely going to increase soon. But I just have to celebrate that we were so successful thus far. And in fact, the success that we had with this fundraiser made us think about what we can do if we have extra money after, our additional legal expenses are covered. And Armin had this amazing idea of reaching back into India, because the Indian government and also just fanatical Hindu nationalists have attempted to take away our access from our Indian community by blocking our Facebook page, blocking Armin's personal page, making him unable to even message people in India, targeting our Twitter pages, so many different legal threats, complaints filed against us, etc. Just this deluge of judicial harassment.
Going after our supporters in India.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
that
their
needs
family,
to be highlighted too.
and their families. Yeah.
Yeah, in an attempt to keep Indians away from Atheist Republic. And Armin had a genius idea about what we can do about that. And I want you to talk about it, Armin, because
Well,
you're so
yeah.
passionate.
Before I say, like, for people who don't know, like, we have had a huge, like, battle. They thought that the strategy that they have is to throw so much legal stuff at you so that you become intimidated, and then you just go away and shut up about it and just silence you, right? So they managed to file a lot of FIRs against us with different police stations. They took our case to the Supreme Court in India, and now we have another high court getting involved as well. They managed to remove me from Twitter, Susanna from Twitter. They managed to block my personal account, not just Atheist Republic. My personal Facebook page is completely blocked in India. And most importantly, our Facebook page had 300,000 followers in India, 300,000 followers. And now they have been completely blocked. Like, we have lost access to our Indian community. Atheist Republic has lost. So given that we don't have that many resources, like, we have like $1,700, and we're going against the world's largest political party, the BJP, right? The far right ethno-nationalist party that is BJP. It's them against me and Susie and you guys with your donation. So thank you so much. I mean, this $1,700 is you might think it's not going to do much, but it's going to do, I think, a lot, because I think this is like asymmetrical warfare, and I think we're going to find out a way to make it go a long way, right? And the way that we have going above what we ask. You guys donated more than we asked, and the donations were still coming. By the way, link to this fundraiser is in the description. So if we have extra, if you guys keep donating above what our legal expenses are going to be, my idea was to, given that the BJP and Hindutva managed to cut our access from atheists in India, even after we were responsible for making atheism trending in India for the first time. That's what we did. And then we lost access to all of these atheists in India. We built a community that we built after a decade of building a community in India. We're now going to use the extra budget, the extra funds that we get from this to make a YouTube ad, and we're going to reveal this ad to you guys when it's ready. It's a very short ad. Susanna speaking to the camera and telling people the ad that we're going to target in India. So we're going to find atheists in India, and this ad on YouTube will tell them that if they don't know who we are, we are an atheist organization that had a large community of atheists in India, but Hindutva cut our access to our community, and we're trying to rebuild it. So if you're interested in joining our community, come to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our YouTube channel and join our newsletter. So we lost that community on Facebook. We're now going to try to reintroduce you, bring back the atheists that we lost in India on YouTube. So we're going to lose that money to keep running that ad. Okay. So I want this to backfire, right? I want us to become, I want us to hit back, even if it's small, even if they manage to win so aggressively against us. I just want us to set a precedent that these intimidation tactics are not just going to be just make us go away, right? I want us to be a headache for Hindutva, to keep coming back, spend another decade of fighting, now coming back to India more aggressively against Hindutva. Like, if they thought like, oh my God, these people are spreading values that challenges Hindutva, challenges ethno-nationalism, challenges our bigotry, challenges our religion, and we managed to make them file all these legal stuff and intimidate their followers and make them go away. I want them to notice that we didn't go away, and now we're going to be focusing on India, and we're going to be even more aggressive against Hindutva than we before. And I want us, even though we're very small and it's not going to be that big of a pushback, I want us to inspire maybe use our experience as a way to inspire more people not to take this, not to find ways to push back, to find ways to promote, to reach out to atheists and secularists and Hindus in India who are against their country being hijacked by Hindutva. Okay, we will unite with Hindus that we disagree with on Hinduism. It's okay, as long as we're against Hindutva, as long as we're against them hijacking India, as long as we're against them destroying the world's largest secular democracy, making it less secular and less democratic and more bigoted or more hateful, right? As long as they are doing that to this country, we care enough for India not to just go away as soon as we get a few legal, filings, as soon as we get intimidated, as soon as they come after our family, as soon as they come after children in our family, as soon as they make all these obscene, disgusting, Photoshop videos of people who are in our family who are not even responsible for doing the activism that we do. They thought that we're going to see this and we're going to cower in fear. I want them to notice that this is not going to work. I want them to notice, like, oh my God, we thought they were a problem before. They're a bigger problem now. Like, I want them to wish that they didn't do this to us, because now we're actually a much bigger headache. I want them to see that atheist activism and secular activism is growing like wildfire in India. And this is what I want them to think, like, Islam is not the problem that they had to deal with. Is atheism the problem that they have to deal with? I want them to fear from atheism, not from Islam. And that will help us make that happen. Help us make them fear atheism growing in India. Okay?
Well,
so
I actually don't like that framing of it.
I know. I know you don't, but that's
given we are faced with explicit accusations of promoting communal violence.
No, guys, everybody knows. I'm sure everybody knows I'm talking about spreading ideas. These are baseless accusations. All we're talking about is promoting secularism, obviously. All we're talking about is fighting bigotry by making videos and blog posts. That is not violence. We are extremely against, we support Hindus and Hindutva against violence. Obviously, we're not like anybody nobody watching our content could genuinely think that we promote anything like that. It's completely ridiculous. Like,
I just wanted to clarify this for the Hindutva sympathizers who are like, clipped, look at proof of their schemes, blah blah blah.
It's ridiculous. So no, we're talking about a community of people getting together and talking and making videos and having discussions and debates. That's all we're talking about. Okay, we're fighting with words. That's all we're talking about. Of course, that's all we're talking about. If Susanna, nobody who says that actually means that. They know that we're not doing that. They're just trying. Nobody actually, even the people who accuse us of this, know that that's ridiculous. We're only
so gone into conspiracism. Like, I don't know what they know. I don't know what they think reality is.
No, don't give them any credit to what they're saying. We're talking about and also what we're going to this I didn't tell Susanna. So I think the ad is going to be like a 10-second or 20-second ad. I don't know how long YouTube ads are going to be. Should be, but I think the ads should just start with saying who we are, like in 2 seconds, spending 5 seconds telling what happened about us being an atheist community that had a large following in India, and because they were afraid of the things that we were, our values, and challenging Hindutva, they came after us. And also our blasphemous art. We're going to mention our blasphemous art. They cut our access. And as a response, we're going to build back a community bigger and better than before. And this is what the purpose of this ad is. I don't know how we're going to shorten all of this in 20 seconds, but we have to. And then we're going to have 3 call to actions. Come to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to our newsletter. But most importantly, we want to get Indians, secularists, atheists, and Hindus to leave us a voicemail. And guys, if you're watching this, leave us a voicemail. The main support that we need, you don't even need to donate to us anything. You don't even need to donate 1 cent to us. The support that you could give to us is there's a link in the description that you could record your audio message, and we want to collect all of these audio messages. And I want people in India to say that Hindutva doesn't represent India, okay? That India deserves more than Hindutva, that India is better than Hindutva, and that India can do better, that India's future doesn't belong to Hindutva. I want to collect all of these voicemails from India and then turn those to Atheist Republic voicemails. I don't know if people know Atheist Republic voicemails is like a videos that we have released. It's just voicemails from atheists around the world, right? And you don't even have to be an atheist. Even if you're a Hindu who says like you think that India deserves better than Hindutva, you can leave a voice message as well. And we will collect all of these voice messages, and we use the voice of, you don't even need to hear us. We will use the voice of Indians in India to reflect it back at India itself and to show that there are many Indians that will say no to Hindutva. Okay. So again, even without the ad, guys, link in the description. You could record your idea and tell us that you say no to Hindutva, and we will play all of that. So link in the description. That would be very helpful.
Yeah. If you would like to support us in this endeavor, please consider donating. Oh wait, I need to get the link ready. Donating to our fundraiser. It will help a lot because, like I said, we still have additional legal costs that we have to cover before we can move to this project. But if this is something that you would like to see, you're interested in, or sounds, like something that you could get behind, consider donating. Link is in the live chat in the description below, and it'd mean a lot to us. Oh, and we even got a new donation 1 hour ago. Fantastic.
Oh, wow.
Help us break a dry spell.
So Mia is saying, do you have money for ads? You need as many resources to fight Hindutva legally. Spending on ads might hamper your legal efforts. Yeah, we're gonna have a conversation with the lawyers. I just want to make sure that people know that if the donations to our fundraiser go above our legal expenses, it's not gonna go to waste. We know what to do with it. So obviously, we're gonna make sure that we leave aside enough for whatever our lawyers tell us that we need, but if we go above, that's what we're going to do. We're going to run an ad. And yes, so this is the link to the GoFundMe, but also thank you, Music Guy. This is a link to where you can leave a voicemail. It's called atheistrepublic.com/podcast. Oh yeah, and it also gets released as a podcast. Your voice messages do also get released as a podcast as well on Atheist Republic podcast. Even if you're against us and leave us a voicemail, as long as it's not like a physical threat, because we can't release that on YouTube, we'll still we release that as well. So even if you're against us, you can leave a voicemail and we'll play that as well, right?
Oh, in fact, we have a number of hilarious videos of people yelling at us over our blasphemy. You guys should go check that out in the voicemails playlist. It's so funny. Ghost Bunny is also saying, donate only if you can afford it. Please don't make yourself broke. Yes, that is definitely something that we are big promoters of here. Only consider this if you have yourself fully covered. Okay, don't support us unless you can fully support yourself first.
Even if you're not broke, even if you're just even if you're not very, like, guys, if you first make sure you take care of yourself. Nobody that is even remotely being having challenging financial situations should not even consider donating to us. Okay, if you are not well off, please don't donate to us. Do not donate to us. There are free ways to support us. The main one is liking this video. Just like, it doesn't cost you anything, so please like the video. That really helps. Secondly, subscribe to our newsletter, and also leave a voicemail. Will support us so much. Like, give us your opinions. Talk about atheism, Hindutva, your own life story, your own. Just keep it short, so that we could play a lot of voicemails. So link in the description. Leave a voicemail. That's free. You could use our platform to just spread your opinions. So it's a service that we provide to you, and it's free. So it helps us, and also you get your opinions out there. Okay. Anyway, so thank you, Ghost Bunny, for reminding us to. Yeah, we have to always mention that. Do not become a patron or donate to us if you're struggling financially. And again, thank you to everybody who did donate, guys. Like, we did not expect to reach our goal that fast. So that was very nice. Thank you.
Yeah. And that concludes our show today. So
yeah,
thank you everyone for watching. Please remember to hit that like button, or dislike it if you thought I was on some BS. Leave your comments below. I'm very curious about what people have to say about the lots of different stories we did about the subcontinent today. And subscribe to our newsletter because, like I said, there are governments who want to cut off our access to our audience. But if you subscribe to our newsletter, we will always be able to tell you where you can find us. No one can take you away from us. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day or night, you guys.
Secular rights saying Susanna is 100 always. Yes. Yes, thank you to Susanna for preparing all of this news and doing all the research and her amazing commentary as always. All right, guys, thank you for everyone. And make sure again, like the video before you go. Don't leave before you like the video. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.